Welcome back to the fifth annual, not annual. This is why I don't intro. Welcome back to the fifth Nerdist School Network crossover podcast featuring the podcast of two worlds, Novice and Frank, and Timm Talk. I'm your host, Cameron Dexter, with...
I'm Trevor Reese from the podcast of Two Worlds.
And I am Chris Fimbres from the podcast of Two Worlds.
Hi, I'm Amanda Barnes from the Novice and Frank.
And I'm Frank from the Novice and Frank, and I feel like we should take a moment now just to, eulogize Chris Lord.
It's been a rough couple hours, but Chris is currently missing.
We've
Presumed
replaced
dead.
him with a mop on a stand.
Yes.
That's right.
He has the same negative feelings towards everything.
Yeah, that's right.
I must say, though, it is nice having just one Chris to avoid confusion.
It is.
That's true.
I'm behind the reason he's gone.
Oh,
Like, at a certain point, I was just like, enough of this two Chris bullshit.
Only
Gasp.
one Chris can survive.
gasp.
I would like to say, so I listened, so I missed the Wonder Woman podcast last time, and I would like to say that I feel like it's much more negative when I'm not here.
Oh,
You guys just
interesting.
ripped that movie apart.
Wonder Woman?
Yeah.
Really? I loved it.
I mean, you didn't say, no one said they hated it, but all you did was just talk about the negative things. I felt
Really?
like.
I listened to it and I was like, wow, I really feel like I'm kissing that movie's ass. I was like, I really feel like I'm like, oh my God, I just discovered Jesus. And
Do you want
guys,
to take a moment to kind of add some
Oh no, you guys
goodwill to
pretty
it?
much covered everything that I wanted to say.
So you had all negative thoughts too, then? is what you're
Yes, it was the worst movie I've ever seen.
how dare you?
No, I loved it. It was great. There was the CGI thing that we brought up that I did feel a little, especially at the beginning with young Diana. It was very apparent. I'd almost felt like TV quality at some stages, which I felt very offended by.
We didn't talk much about young Diana. We should do another podcast. Where we
That's right.
discuss
Young Diana.
Yes.
Well, bringing up CGI, I felt like there was only one shot in Spider-Man Homecoming, and I've seen it twice, that stuck out to me as kind of like, eh. And that is a scene where he's going onto the ferry and he paraglides basically over there, and that looks basically like they had a stick figure and a string just kind of like as he's flying over. It's like, oh, that shot did not look that good.
By the way, we're discussing Spider-Man
Oh yeah.
Homecoming.
I guess that was
today.
supposed to be my job.
No, Frank interrupted you. Frank interrupted you.
Yes, we're talking about Spider-Man Homecoming. It's very exciting. Do we want to do just rough thoughts at the very just to start this off?
Let's just dive right in.
Dive right in.
Frank, did you have any rough thoughts? You look like you're crying.
No,
Frank.
I'm fine,
What's
guys.
going on?
I'm fine.
What's going on over there?
I'm fine.
I'm sorry.
I really enjoyed the film. I feel like for some reason this movie I can't think of the last time I really saw a film twice so quickly, and this one I did, and it's just really just been sticking with me. I really enjoyed it.
You saw this movie. So you saw this movie twice since it came out, which it's only been a couple of days.
Yes.
And you also found time. Didn't you go see Avengers Live?
I did see
saw
Marvel
Avengers
Avengers.
Live?
Yes.
Oh
Yeah.
man.
Oof.
You gotta
So,
Give us all right, before we go too deep into Spider-Man.
Yes.
Let's pause because we have the time to do this.
Oh, of course.
So give us bullet points.
All right,
Give
so
us the point by
Avengers
point.
Live. This is their new stage show. It's going to be traveling for 3 years, guys.
Shit.
3 years. Big
Till
kickoff.
2020.
That's right. 2020, kicking off at the Staples Center. So the big, huge weekend. I kicked off on same day Spider-Man Homecoming came out. I saw it on Saturday, July 8th. Very sparsely populated over there in the Staples Center. Not a huge crowd. But basically the idea is that the Guardians are after the Wanda Tomb because they're trying to get it for the Collector. And, of course, Yondu shows up. Nebula shows up. Everything happens. They teleport. Now everybody's after the Wanda Tomb. It's basically Loki has been putting all this in motion. And so now starts off in space, comes to Earth. You got to have the Avengers. You got to have Spider-Man, Black Panther. It's the barest of plots and really just cheesy fighting.
Is it the Infinity War you were hoping for?
Oh my gosh! If this is what Infinity War turns out, I'm so scared. I am so scared.
Could you figure out what broke Jeremy Renner's arms from watching the stage show?
There was no Hawkeye in there.
What?
Yeah, all they had was Captain America, Black Widow, Thor, Iron Man. Hulk doesn't show up until the very end, and Hulk is a man on stilts, and he
amazing.
walks so awkwardly.
They should have just made it like 6 guys. They should have made Hulk. If you were going to be Hulk, if they were going to go for a guy on stilts, they should have really committed and been like one dude is each leg, and then like another. They should have gotten some like acrobats in there and made it.
Yeah. And rather
just
than
me.
Scarlet Witch, they had Wasp, which I appreciated. Like,
Oh,
I was
wow.
like, yeah, even some Wasp shout out.
Unstoppable Wasp?
And Iron Fist. And finally, as I said, it was great to see Iron Fist in costume since we never get to see him in the Netflix series.
that's true.
Was the brief amount of Iron Fist in that show better than the full amount of Iron Fist on Netflix?
Putting him in his costume already made it better, so like anything else was going to be fine. And it's all voiced by everybody that does the animated series voices.
Oh, cool.
And so all the actors are just basically lip syncing to the dialogue.
That's
So yeah, it was all right, but it's just a lot of like the stunt choreography is just like a lot of obvious, like not even coming close to connecting, not really selling any of the punches or anything that's happening. It's very cheesy. Kids, I guess, I think love it because you get to see all these heroes. I mean, it's essentially the Chitauri drive a motorcycle too, which I loved. Like the South but that's how they attack the Avengers by coming in on motorcycles. I'm like, oh, all right.
Is it
That makes
better or
sense.
worse than the Waterworld show?
That was my
Universal?
question. You mean the #1 rated stunt show in the country?
Well
that's been running for
deserved
20
#1
years?
rated show in the country.
It's better because it's shorter.
Oh wow.
Yes, and it.
Oh wait, you're saying Waterworld?
Yeah, Waterworld's
okay.
shorter. Waterworld's 20 minutes. This with
They
an
were saying
intermission.
the Avengers was 20 minutes. I'm
was
like,
almost
I was
like an
like,
hour and a
wow,
half.
how much did you pay to go see a 20-minute Avengers show?
Yeah, this is like
Yeah.
an hour and a half, even with an
Okay.
intermission. And so it's, at least Waterworld, you got to give it up for just being short and sweet, no matter how kind of cheesy that is as well.
Well, what the jerk think of it?
She kind of liked it at first when everybody's coming out, and then got freaked out in the second half of the motorcycles. It was really loud. And then they had fire dancers come out for some reason. I don't know why fire dancers needed to be out there.
How were they dressed? What was their
They
relevance?
they were from the Savage Land. That's what their deal was.
Okay.
So yeah, they went to the Savage Land, which was kind of a nice shout out.
Okay.
Who
And then she got
owns
into
the
it.
Savage. That's a question. Who owns the Savage Land for the movies? Because we haven't seen it yet. Is
No.
that a Marvel thing, or do you think Fox has that?
I gotta admit, well, it could be one of those split ones where they get to share like Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch. It could be that. But
Interesting.
I would assume anybody could use that. So they show up there. There's fire. They fight, and then at the end, the Hulk finally. The Banner is subdued by Loki, so he can't change into the Hulk for pretty much the whole
So
entire
just some
show.
small white guy.
It's a small white guy
Just laying on stage.
who's standing in a green light for the majority of the show. Sorry, he can only feel pain. He can't feel anger. Which I'm like, okay, that's what Loki put a spell on him for. But finally, they have this deal. This is how they save the day. Everybody everybody.
Spoilers.
Yeah,
Iron
spoilers
Man-
abound, everybody.
Iron Man has adapted this new piece into his armor, where if everybody just focuses their thoughts towards Iron Man, they will charge up his armor enormously, so he can be able to shoot out
That's
his
some
supercharge.
Dragon Ball
my
Z bullshit
God.
right there.
Yeah. So it's them all just standing around posing, and a light comes down on them, and like, I'm getting charged up.
That's
and then
amazing.
he can free the
like
Hulk.
the
He just
ultimate-
used the spirit bomb.
That's oddly perfect because he's such a narcissist. He's like, the only way to fuel my armor is if everyone just focuses on me for a minute.
Which they do name check in the show, so at least they recognize that. But at the end, so they have the Wanda Watum all the way in the far end of the stage. Hulk is trapped all the way on this side, so they're at the farthest points from each other. Iron Man frees Hulk with using his, the power of thought and love. They
Power of
free them.
friendship.
Yes. Then Hulk on stilts has to do this really long, slow, lumbering walk all the way across to smash the force field around the Wanda Watum to stop everything. But it takes forever because he's just a man in stilts, kind of lumbering down.
What do you say? What do you Wanda? What is
Wanda Watum.
Wanda?
It's a Doctor Strange
Watum?
kind of. It's a mystical device, but it's floating in outer space at the beginning of there. But it's a magical weapon.
There's
I
a
think
D,
they name
Wand
dropped
of
it in
Watum.
Doctor Strange.
Wand
the movie.
of Watum.
Yeah.
It's 3 words.
Yes.
Yes.
I heard Wanda Watum,
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
the
it's like a
hip,
person.
like a hip new up and comer that's
That
going to be
sassy new friend.
Yeah, that you'll see this Friday on NBC, like Wanda Watum.
But I own one. That was part of the merch. They would sell your own very own
You bought a
wand.
Wanda.
I bought a wand,
of-
guys. It's like, how often are you going to see like the wand made into an actual like thing that you can carry?
Real question now.
Yes.
How many wands do you own?
I only own the one.
You don't
Uh,
have any Harry Potter wands?
No. Oh no, I actually do have one Harry Potter one when it first opened. So,
Okay, so you own 2 wands.
yes.
Well, we have vamped enough.
He did bring it.
oh.
So
Look at this.
Insider edition for the podcast.
Oh,
we have
that is
been
cool.
trying to collect the posters of the 5 episodes that we have watched, and so far, up until this episode, it was just the Lego Batman
Very
You've been
poster.
doing a
first
terrible
episode
job.
we did.
So we have been sitting blankly with just the Lego Batman poster, but now I brought in the Spider-Man one for Homecoming, and now Chris Lord, who's just showed up, brought his Logan
Welcome, Chris.
poster.
Hello, all.
That is a beautiful poster.
Boo!
No, we can't-
Oh yeah, you got my booth.
See, you escaped.
Yeah, I did.
Oh boy.
We'll have to work
So
on that.
basically, go see Marvel Universe Live, guys. That's what I'm saying.
Just-
Yeah.
have
all
you-
of,
Go
the,
see
all
it.
of the reviews that I've seen so far are kind of what you said. There's no positive review. It's just like, this is great for kids.
Yeah, that's it.
Kids are gonna love this.
Have you guys ever seen a show like that? Like whatever it is live? When I
talking
was in
about
college, I
the
saw My Little Pony
Marvel
live.
show.
Maybe that's why I'm so convinced that they could have made the Hulk out of more than one person because all those ponies were two people. And my roommate took me to see it when I was in college. It was a great experience.
So how would they have made 6 people into the Hulk? You would have somebody on somebody's shoulders.
Yeah, it's
And have him in a trench
It's the
coat?
artistry of live theater, Frank. Suspend your belief for half a damn second.
Okay.
Yeah, you'd have like 2 dudes, and you'd have this, but it would be cool because he'd be this huge, towering character, and when kids see him, they'd be like, "Whoa!" and they'd look over the fact that it was more than one person. You'd have one person is each leg, and then you'd have like another person like standing on each of their shoulders, and
Standing.
yeah,
There you go. And holding 2 other people.
yeah,
To be
they'd
the
be really
arms.
strong.
That would be a
No,
very, very large Hulk.
It'd be cool. Well, okay, so 3 people, because you'd have maybe like 2 guys is the leg, one guy standing up like on each of their, like one guy with the right foot on the right guy's shoulder and the left foot on the left guy's shoulder, and then he'd be manipulating the arms like puppets. Guys,
Yeah, it could work.
all right, I'm gonna write a Hulk musical, and then you're all gonna be sorry.
Oh, I thought you were gonna make us all be in it. You're
Yeah.
on. You're all gonna be.
You're all gonna be. You're gonna be left leg. You're gonna be right leg. You're gonna be guy on shoulders.
Sweet. It's gonna be great.
I'm trying to take a huge
Little
selfie of all
selfie
of
picture?
us. Can we do it? Can we make it happen?
Let's do it while we're on air, while everybody has to wait for us
That's
when they're
right.
listening to this.
Well,
This is super
As
Well, I
Chris
mean-
Lord puts on his mic, his
Okay,
headphones.
great. All right, cool. I'll-
Here we go.
Vamp, and we're vamping.
Well, I think while we do this photo, I think we can just jump straight into Spider-Man now that we're all
Yeah,
here.
Let's do it.
With that nice interlude with Marvel Live.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a nice little warm up.
Don't cut it, Trevor. Please don't cut it.
It's my one thing, man.
That's all I have.
I have no opinions about Spider-Man. I just, I went all in on Marvel Live.
Okay, so I haven't missed anything at all yet.
No.
We have
Oh.
not talked a second.
Oh,
about
fantastic.
Spider-Man.
I mean, you
Okay,
have. It's just all been about Marvel Live.
Yeah. I think, Frank gave a very rough intro and then
That's right.
switched over. So, Spider-Man.
Spider-Man
I think
Homecoming.
everyone liked it, is the general consensus.
Yeah.
Yes. I had a few. I walked out of the theater in a very odd mood. Like I liked it, but there were so many questions I had about like the decisions that were made on that movie.
Ooh, like what?
With Donald Glover's character, kind of how little. Excuse me. Aaron Davis. Well, I just mean him as an actor, how little he was used. And I understand them setting up further. And I was trying to compare him to like Coulson and the Iron Mans, but like even Coulson, I feel like had a bigger part, and people kind of knew his reasoning. Like as an average fan, I didn't know that he was Miles's uncle until I read it. Like I read that
What?
before. Spoiler, that's his uncle.
Oh
Miles
my
Morales is in this
God.
I
universe.
understand that that's
Oh.
what he meant when he's like, I got a nephew who lives around here. I got to keep him safe.
No, I was like, this is weird.
I
What's
was
going
the
on?
singular person who wooed when he said that in my theater. But then like literally like a minute later, like that long of a delay, 60 seconds, someone went like, woo. Like it was like call and response.
Like they
he didn't
Googled it
understand. He clearly didn't get it. I was the only one in my theater who understood Miles Morales.
You know what's fun for me is that when you guys are like, oh, he's Miles Morales' uncle, I'm like, holy shit, I understand. Because like, I don't know if a year ago I would have thank you for baby applause. I would have been like, oh yeah, Miles Morales is that's cool.
Yeah.
Like, so it's
I
cool
like
because I
him.
understand it. And I love Miles Morales.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes more sense because I was literally like, why did Donald Glover take this part?
And even that he was in the trailer, like they were like, look who's in this movie. Donald Glover he's here.
Yeah.
He's gonna be a part of this thing.
A
He's
lot of-
finally in a Spider-Man
A
movie.
lot of weird little cameos that were fun. Martin Starr
Oh, I
killed it.
love
I
Martin
want him to
Starr.
be my teacher. Yeah, he was great.
But regardless of like
Captain
the scale of Donald Glover in that role, I felt like that role was consequential though to the plot. You needed Spider-Man to find somebody that he could go back to get the information. So I felt like even though Donald Glover may have been like, oh, why did we cast him for this part? I felt like the role in and of itself, the character was essential.
More substantial than, say, Zendaya's character.
I've seen a lot of back and forth about Zendaya's character. First of all, question. I have heard about Zendaya for a long time now. I don't know why does she just have one name? Why is she famous? Why
I
does
don't
everybody know
know.
her?
She's on some
can I
Disney
ask?
Kids.
She
Is
was
that it?
she was a Disney kid with Bella Thorne. They had
Yeah.
a Disney show, I think Shake It Up.
Okay.
Right? I obviously know everything
No.
about it.
Don't bring it. It's
That
a
was the
question.
end.
It's gonna break your balls.
That was the end of my Disney run.
mean,
Kind of
I've
ended with that show.
heard maybe-
I mean, I've heard that it lasted 66 episodes, but that's that's nothing.
We all know you.
I always thought Zendaya was a guy. I thought Zendaya was a guy from American Idol. Who's the one named guy from American
my-
Idol?
you're-
Sanjaya.
Zendaya.
What a deep pull!
Yes.
Oh man.
I mean, I guess it's his name.
I mean, he only has like 2 albums.
hesitate?
out.
Did I say like maybe his name's? No, I know his name is Sanjaya. He was on American Idol for far too long. He had the
'Cause
pitchy
actually,
voice of an angel.
I do remember him a little bit because like the one season I watched with my folks, and I was like, I'm done. I can't. But I've never loved or respected either of you more.
I have to
proud.
admit, I didn't mind her, but until I found out at the end when they decided, like, hey, she's really Mary Jane, guys.
Yeah.
But-
I was like, then I liked her a little less.
But she's not because
She's-
they
they just
they
call
said
her MJ.
She's Michelle Jones.
Yeah.
yeah, but I feel they're going to call her MJ.
Yeah.
So
If it's MJ, it's MJ. You don't have to be Mary Jane to be MJ. You could just be that figure in Peter's life.
Right.
Which is, I mean, I'm all for not just casting a bunch of white people in superhero movies
Amen.
anymore. So like,
You don't want
I was
bleached
cool. And I
red
felt
hair?
like it was a cool atmosphere, even just at a school.
Yeah, it was a very modern school, which I enjoyed. And I think my biggest complaint, even though I also kind of praise it, is Flash Thompson's character not being like the jock. And I appreciate them not doing the like jocks pick on nerds kind of bullying anymore. It's now much more kind of just like,
He's such a
What is it?
doucher.
yeah, it's kind
Well,
of like mental bullying.
I
It's
heard,
like-
yeah, that's what I heard. Like when they were talking about it, people were they brought the criticism to John Watts, the director, and he was saying like, you know what, like my bullies weren't the jock guys. My bullies were the guys who were just dicks.
Yeah.
And it's just like, yeah, I get that. I can get behind that. Like, because yeah, it's more of a question of not whether or not it's modern. It's more of a question of whether or not it captures Flash Thompson. And it's just like, jury's still kind of out. I need to see it again. I need to see it a second time. I try to, at least for the ones I love, I want to see it a second time. But yeah, I think there's the possibility that maybe it's straight from Flash Thompson, but also like this is the most Flash Thompson's gotten to do.
Yeah, that's
Joe
very true.
Manganiello had like a scene where like the most he contributed to the Sam Raimi ones was that punch with the Spider Sense scene, and then whoever the hell that kid was in Amazing Spider-Man, again, really
Maybe. I mean, he's only been in a few
Not
movies
to
that I've
mention,
seen.
like both those dudes are like 30.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, no wonder they're gonna beat the shit out of this high school kid.
But yeah, but it's just like it was cool because like at least they gave Flash a more substantial role. But also this is entirely the ultimate Spider-Man comic book. The entirety of the MCU is the ultimate universe more than it is the traditional Marvel universe. And in that one, they really started softening Flash early. Because like traditionally, like in the comic books, Flash doesn't become a good person in Peter's life until way after high school. And within the comics, they sort of dropped that like probably like 60 issues in.
Okay.
Like him and Peter became really cool. Like Flash's like henchman, like his buddy Kong figured out Peter Parker was Spider-Man, and it had this whole thing. And like, yeah, I think it was cool just to finally have a Flash Thompson of substance who we saw continually be a pain in the ass to Peter Parker. But yeah, it wasn't like, hey, fucking nerd, I'm going to fucking throw a football at you and shove you in a locker. Like, it would have been cool to see a more traditional thing. Because, like, Betty Brant. It's cool to see Betty Brant, but that's not necessarily, like, Betty Brant.
Yeah, I felt like that and Genki. Well, Ned Leeds. Why didn't they just call him Genki? Because that's who he was supposed to be, I feel like. And they kept on calling him Ned Leeds. And I feel like it just took me out. That little bit took me out. Cause
Who is he?
He was Peter's
friend.
best friend.
guy
I
in the-
loved him.
guy in the
Yeah, he
chair.
was great.
I thought he was
Yeah.
adorable, and I thought that he was awesome. And
Well, yeah,
I
and
love
that's
the
the
moment
thing.
when he discovers it.
Yeah.
That was such a great reveal to me. It was like there was so much tension in that moment, and then he just turns and just drops the Lego Death Star. That was delightful.
Which is heartbreaking.
yes, yeah. I was like, no,
Such a masterpiece to
so
be
much
shattered.
work. So it's $600 you just dropped on the floor. That's how I felt about it.
But it could be reassembled.
It's true.
But still,
Did that bother you, Trevor, or somebody that loves that?
It did, because it's like I like the character and I like what they did with Ned. Like I don't have any problems in and of itself. It's just like the cannibalization of Miles's backdrop. It's the fact that they pulled stuff from Miles' thing that makes him less impactful and applied it to Peter Parker. That's the problem.
So is that character part of the Miles Morales Ultimate Run?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
he
Okay,
looks,
I didn't know
he
that.
looks exactly, and his behavior is exactly
Well,
like him.
Bendis-
Because I mean,
Yeah.
that was one of my questions for you guys. Is that when I was weirdly enough, the Spider-Man that I am most familiar with at this point is Miles Morales, because that's the only one that I kept.
As it should be.
It's the only one that I kept reading of my own volition.
I'll be 100% honest.
Really?
Miles Morales, he's currently the most interesting Spider-Man.
He's awesome, but I liked his relationship with his best friend. So when I saw this, I was like, oh, wait a minute,
Yeah.
and I just figured I was like, well, that's
Bendis,
kind of a bummer.
in the comic books a couple months ago, did like a burn on the movie because there's a scene in the comic book, in the current Spider-Man Ultimate book. There's a female YouTuber that Genki has befriended because she's obsessed with Spider-Man, and sort of like the two of them obsessed with Spider-Man are connecting. And but he's not revealing his real name. And so in the tail end of their conversation, he's like, "What do I call you? Like, you don't have a name?" He's like, "Call me Ned." And she says, "You don't look like a Ned." And so it's like clearly like Bendis throwing shade that the movie stole his character from his character.
And frankly, just like really blatantly, everything the design, like I say, the design as though this
The
person was
entirety
designed, but
of
he
Ned.
his essence and his physical appearance was all.
It's
felt
Ned is
ripped.
the only reason its name is the only differential.
So why? I guess just because he was such a good character. I loved him in the
because
books.
Peter Parker, his supporting cast when he was in high school were all dickheads
That's why
to
he's
him.
such a butthead.
Like it's Flash Thompson and Liz Allen and all these people like Puny Parker. Everyone was terrible to Peter Parker throughout high school. Nobody became cool, and he really kind of didn't have friends until they moved him to college.
And I don't know what you get out of it, because anybody that's going to recognize the Ned Leeds name it's going to be a really deep cut to longtime Spider-Man fans.
He's the Hobgoblin.
Yeah, but why? I don't know what they gained by keeping him Ned. Why not just make him Genki? I don't know why they just keep the name the same.
Well,
Hold on, let's with all this talk of Miles, let's not brush past the fact that him being in this universe just kind of lets us know that Spider-Man's gonna die at some point.
Aw, boo.
Sorry, spoiler alert, guys. Yeah, now talk about this awesome movie.
So I guess that it's weird to me that they set up Miles Morales, but then blatantly took a piece of what's so important about him. Are they going to make this kid his friend? Or are they just going to scooch him on over? Like, is that kid going to be like, "Oh, I'm going to now show you"? I was friends of the old Spider-Man.
If they make a move to bring in Miles Morales, and I'd be super stoked if this trilogy. I mean, stoked is a relative word, but if this trilogy ends with Peter Parker dying before he finishes high school, and then continuing on the Miles Morales story, I bet they would bring in his character, the character Judge, to be his foil. Judge is this guy. He looks like Betty Brant's co-host on the announcements.
Okay.
And for a second before they announced his name, like, oh, that's Judge. They're like fully like pilfering all of Miles Morales' thing. But that's what I imagine they'll do, because that's a character who he's so much of a lesser character and a lesser confidant than Genki, and so much less important. But he's enough of a presence within what Bendis has built that Marvel could just pull him. And it's also probably like a little bit racist. Like, he's black, Judge is black, Miles is black, so just he's got a black friend.
Wait, so his name is Judge, like his first name is Judge?
Yeah,
As in, like, Judge Reinhold?
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to make sure that was the case.
My name is Judge.
I was just going to do that.
I think it's just going to be Zendaya. I think we're going to find out her full name is Michelle Jones Myers. And so like, oh, Miles Morales, Michelle Myers. It's basically the same thing.
Just keep really pulling at those threads.
What I liked about it, though, is I feel like the Andrew Garfield version and the Tobey Maguire version, they just kind of name-checked high school, and then they just basically just quickly moved on past that. And I feel like this one really sunk into like high school life and really combined that with the Spider-Man universe, which I did like. And setting him as a sophomore, you've got that for at least, a couple more years if you want to,
I
or
like
movies.
I liked it like when he is coming back from the bathroom and he has that huge hall pass. And they don't mention it. It's just a prop. And I was like, that's high school. That's how I feel, watching like these little things that kind of nailed that to me. And I was so excited to talk to you guys about this because I had never thought about this before, but it feels like this room is very passionate about the organic versus inorganic web shooters. So did you guys get what you wanted?
Yes.
With the web shooters?
I like him when he's got mechanical web shooters.
Okay.
And we get to
then
see
he
him
made it in
creating
science
Yeah.
class.
Oh, that
I
was
love
so,
that shit.
that was
So
so
it was
cool.
really funny because I was sitting there watching it, and then he's like creating it in science class, and in my mind I was like, "The podcast guys are really gonna do that?"
Well, it was a nice touch to feel like, how does somebody like Peter Parker, doesn't have all the money in the world, be able to get all these chemicals that he needs to make this webbing? It's like, all right, I'll just use what I can get at school and just do it on the sly. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
He's bleeding his school dry. The science department's making cuts while Peter Parker's making his web.
He's turning into Walter White.
Yeah.
This is the pre-story Breaking Bad.
He's gonna make meth on accident while he's trying to make webs.
Yeah.
He's awesome.
Yeah, accident.
Yeah. Aunt May's gonna lose her job, and
How
I
did
just
you
don't
feel
know what to
about
do.
How'd you feel about Hot Aunt May?
the sex object of the movie.
Yeah.
I felt like I like Marissa Tomei. I like the decision to kind of cast an aunt that not necessarily looks like the old gray-haired Aunt May version that we've known from the
Yo,
comics.
mom.
Not Rosemary
Yeah.
Harris.
Yo, wheat
Yeah.
cakes, Peter.
Yeah, that's right.
Did you get my eggs?
But I like that she was hot Aunt May, but she was also hot in like more of a traditional. Like they didn't sex her up. Like Marissa Tomei is gorgeous and always has been, but like you'd still buy her as like, oh yeah, she's like kind of a hot aunt.
I feel like where the movie ends is really going to see a lot more of her in the next.
Yeah,
film.
so Chris and I talked about this after the movie. With the way it ended, I really wish that there was one more Spider-Man before Infinity War, because I would love for that to play out more. Because I feel like it's going to be very underplayed, since he's going to have to go into space pretty much immediately to fill in all the other characters. And I wish, because like I would love to see a scene where she's like trying to call Tony Stark or Happy.
Like,
It's
how dare you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you better be watching out for him. Like, how could you, like, why did you give him this dangerous suit? Like, she's, like, maybe trying to take it away from him. Like, I think that could be really fun. And maybe, like, if they, because, we have those, like, 5-minute Thor shorts. I'd love for, like, his grounding, or, like, his punishment, her trying to, keep him in the house. I think that'd be kind of a
There's
fun
a
short.
great story because Frank and I, we had a long conversation because Chris Fimbres, he brought up last week the lack of spider sense. And that started a conversation when I ran into Frank last week before the movie came out. We were kind of talking about that, but then also talking about Aunt May and how we appreciate when she knows that Peter is Spider-Man. And I'd love to just see them even adapt. There's a Enough Said issue. For a month, like 15 years ago, Marvel did this thing where all their comics were silent. And then no dialogue at all.
Oh,
So it was
wow.
all just the images telling the
This
story.
is a writer's strike.
Well, it was like some people, like Grant Morrison, he had a great X-Men issue that was really, really great. And it only had dialogue in the last panel, but he like built it in that like it was Jean Grey and Emma Frost on like this psychic thing where they had to be like completely silent and were just like, it was like a mind fuck adventure. And then, but in
Wait, real
this-
quick tangent. Was that part of the new X-Men?
Yeah.
Okay, 'cause I remember that issue, but I didn't know that was why it was done that way.
Yeah, it was a whole month, and they had one with. It was right after Aunt May found out that Peter was Spider-Man in the main comic books, and it was her. It was like 3 stories. It was Peter just going about his Spider-Man day. It was Mary Jane going about her modeling day because at the time they were separated. They were still married, but they were separated. And then it was Aunt May sort of, she was like at the library, like sending off emails to like newspapers, like, I'm canceling my subscription because you're negative coverage of Spider-Man. And it's like, and then she's like, and then one of the papers had positive coverage. And so she started up a subscription. And so it's like little stuff like that, like having Aunt May in Peter's corner. In the past 15 years, Marvel has reversed that, but made an amazing case for why that should be the case. That why Aunt May should be in on the secret, as opposed to this like, oh, if I tell Aunt May, she'll have a heart attack and die.
She's a doddering old fool.
Yeah, and like having her being in Peter Parker's corner makes her like Alfred, but like
Yeah.
such a more supportive, naturalistic version of that character. There's a fucking great article that I've mentioned multiple times on our podcast, where it's just this guy. I think it's Comic Book Resources, but he talks about comparing Batman and Spider-Man and which one is truly the legitimate like best character. And this guy is a diehard Batman fan, but he admits that Spider-Man is the better idea. Because it's just a more mature version of this character. It's a more mature, like, darker idea of what it means to be a superhero and a more realistic version of it. And having Aunt May in that role would just be amazing because she's she's not blindly supportive the way Alfred is as like a servant and like pseudo father figure, but he's like a paid servant. And Aunt May is a blood relative, but also like kind of not even tangentially like responsible for Peter at a certain point. Like she's like his guardian, but like she doesn't have to be. She can pass him off to someone. I mean, if push came to shove, like that's one thing that Peter was worried about. Like she'll kick him out, and that's what she did in the Ultimate Comics when she found out for a second. She's like, "Get the hell out, get out of my life! Like this is too much. You have betrayed my trust entirely." And like Alfred would never do that, but Aunt May would.
So,
And
are-
Can Alfred do that though?
yeah, and he just
Get
gets
out of
fired.
my
He could quit.
So, I mean, how do we feel overall with the idea that they have basically gotten rid of his secret identity? I mean, he has one, but I mean, this was kind of the one character so far in the MCU outside of Daredevil who actually had a secret identity, and through Ned and May, and then also the Vulture finding out, that's going to be, I don't think, a huge part of the movies going forward. How do we feel about that in general?
I mean, isn't part of when it comes to Civil War, isn't he one of the guys that's like, I do, because his whole thing, he feels, if I remember correctly, most passionately about keeping his identity secret because he doesn't want his family affected by being outed. That's the case,
Yeah,
right?
and you could see like certainly with at the end of the first credit scene with Michael Keaton and Matt Gargan, the Scorpion, seeing like what somebody like some people would love to do. They'd love to know his real identity because they want to just slice his throat open and kill him. So you can see Michael Keaton, just having his moment where it's like, I know the identity, but I'm not going to do it because of everything he's done for me and my daughter.
Yeah,
So
that was a cool part.
yeah. So I feel like I think some people are going to know, but I think they've contained it. That's why I like that scene because it kind of contained it because it was always that loose end of like, oh, well, you've got a bad guy that knows the identity. But I feel like I kind of closed it where it's like, all right, just these three people know, and pretty much that could be it.
Less clunky than just killing the main villain, which is
I like
the
that. They didn't
usual
kill him,
approach.
Yeah.
Right. I talked to Chris about this again. This is the first movie where the villain doesn't die, or not, where someone doesn't die. A father figure doesn't die.
But people could have died because Peter has a fucking kill mode built in his
Yeah.
suit.
Yes.
And he
That
also
was
took
nuts.
down like a tilt-a-whirl, whatever that ride was. He just completely destroyed it.
Yeah, no one ever really
no one
talked about
survived
that.
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, speaking of like father figures, certainly Uncle Ben, huge part of his
Joe
backbone.
Pesci, you mean?
That's
That's
right.
what I imagined.
Oh my God, I would so watch that movie.
But so they kind of like
Peter, how am I funny? Peter with great power comes great responsibility.
What are you doing right now?
I don't know. It's
You
a bad
did
Joe
little-
Pesci.
A little stroke. I liked
Spider-Man
it.
in
I
Home
liked
Alone.
it
Yeah,
a
that's
lot.
exactly what we want.
That was great.
they certainly made like Tony Stark kind of like the mentor father figure who's absent in his own way because he's just kind of off doing his own thing. But I kind of like that kind of transferring a lot of it instead of Uncle Ben to Tony Stark.
Yeah, I like that awkward, that like, hey, I'm trying to have a moment. You can't hang up on me. Like, really laying it on thick that he's like trying to be a dad.
Oh yeah, but even like
He's like, walk with me, kid.
Even he admits that it's like I didn't have a good father as well. So it's just,
Yeah.
he knows. I mean, he's just taking what he's learned from his dad and not doing it very well.
Yeah, no, he got in Pete's ass a little bit too. Like he was legit frustrated, and
Yeah.
but like not so much like, oh man, you really fucked this up. Like he was worried about him almost. Like, hey man, something could have happened to you, and that's on me. Or if something happened, and it would have been on your watch, and you have to carry that, and I don't want that for you. So there is that very much that Tony's that presence in his life, which I think is cool. Like I mean, everything in this universe is interconnected, and I think that's what makes it so great, right?
I was really worried. So there's the scene at the beginning when he fights off the criminals in the bank, and they destroy the shop across the street. I'm like, is this going to be our Uncle Ben moment? Are
Yeah,
they really
the
trying to shoehorn that in?
The sandwich guy. Oh no!
Extra pickles and squish it down.
The cheapest, the best. And I also loved that he brought it back up with Donald Glover.
Yeah,
It's like,
that was
it's
funny.
it's the best sandwich place in New York.
Yeah, that was great.
Well, that's something that I've always had with with Spider-Man is the New York of it all. Is that Spider-Man is like in the trenches like everyone else, almost like a Matt Murdock, like you mentioned Daredevil. They're very similar characters, but a lot of their power comes not from their strength or speed or their abilities. It's the fact that
New Yorkness.
they're so connected to the place they're defending that they will willingly give their life, but also like fight with like so much more ferocity than like say Tony Stark. Like Tony Stark, he's in Malibu. He'll care more about his house than he did like in Avengers with like the Avengers Tower and everything in New York. Because he's not from the area, and like that's what I like about Spider-Man is, and you get to have those little moments you wouldn't necessarily have with with any other character.
It's funny though, right? Because they take it out of New York in this one and make a big portion of the movie in DC. Right?
That's true. Are you trying to?
Yeah, and
No,
you
I'm
see
just-
that he
disrupt my
destroyed the
point?
DC monument.
I'm just saying that I agree with you, but I thought that it was kind of an interesting move. That like you could have had it. I mean, you could have had it be like the Empire State Building. You could have had it be the Statue of Liberty, and instead they made the conscious choice to take it to DC.
But you could take the boy out of New York, right? Because like even with, like in the beginning when he's headed off to Civil War and he's doing his like self documentary, he starts with his like his Ray Liotta narration.
Yeah, I guess I just.
But
I,
even
I
John
thought
Watts
it was
was
an
saying
interesting point though. Like,
because he grew up around there, New York area. But he's like, that was the thing that we used to do in school, is that we take trips to Washington D.C. a
Right.
lot. So he goes, that's a very common thing if you're living in New York. So
yeah.
that's why.
Well, I did a trip to DC in school. I'm just saying that I think that it's. I'm not trying to argue with anybody. I'm just saying
Feel
that
like
like
you were. Feel like
I
that's
think you
good.
were. I know.
All
I
right.
think we're
Okay.
trying
Well,
to
then I guess
put Trevor
I guess
down,
I'm
right?
saying that
I'm-
I actually
back
studied the
on that?
movie, and I guess that I maybe saw more than you did in seeing the movie, and would just like to say that even though I'm a novice, I'm not an idiot. No, I don't know. I guess I'm wondering like, I guess that would be why, is if he related to that, growing up. I loved the smooth like, I'm not gonna go up in that building built by slaves, and the Marine Corps was like, it wasn't built by, and the security guard's like, I thought that was pretty funny.
Which is so much naturalistic humor in it.
Yeah.
Trevor, you brought up a good point about how Tony doesn't care about New York. Vulture is very much a Iron Man villain. Like Iron Man is the one that turned him into a villain, and I think it's interesting. I kind of wish that they would have like kind of brought that up, because it's not Spider-Man's, like, in no way is Vulture an outcome of Spider-Man's actions. It is 100% Iron Man's fault, and I would have loved for him to like try and cover it up or do something, like try and clear his conscience.
Yeah, that's
even
what I
though
liked.
I don't even know if he knows.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, Tony Stark is so oblivious to what happened. Like Adrian Toomes is just such a drop in the bucket to him. Like that just. What's funny, I think about that, why they didn't ever bring that up, is it just sort of kind of reinforces the Vulture's point. Like to the entirety of it, he really doesn't understand what happened to, like, what Peter really prevented, what Peter went through. But also just like, I like that because that's a lot of Spider-Man stuff, is Spider-Man isn't, at least initially, like the cause of these people's like origin stories. He's just the one who's like vigilant and keeps getting in their way, that it builds that relationship and animosity and hate, as opposed to like being this central figure in their lives like Tony Stark is in Vulture. It's way more about that Spider-Man just shows up and like, the fuck is this guy doing? Like, who is this kid? I'm after Tony Stark. I want fucking Robert Downey Jr. to pay for what he's done to me. Who the fuck is this kid who's showing? He's dating my daughter? What the fuck? Like,
Yeah, that reveal was. I did not see
that
that
was
coming.
absolutely
No
I did
one
not
did-
see that
yeah.
either.
That was cool. It's-
I like the fact actually that it wasn't just the villain we've seen, especially in Spider-Man movies, which is like they have a personal grudge against Spider-Man. It's like, oh, I gotta.
Sandman shot Uncle Ben.
Yeah, I know, right? It's just
Fuck
like
you, Sam Raimi. Fuck you for that.
Every single one of them, like, I gotta get Spider-Man. Like, he personally pissed me off. Like, I have like this vendetta against him. This is more like, no, you're in my way, and I think that helped justify in the end why he didn't kind of betray him and like give his name to the Scorpion.
Is in the comic books, is that the Vulture's origin story?
No, I think it's
Because
completely changed.
It's
right?
kind of weak
Well,
sauce.
If
Like,
you would like the real
I-
Vulture's origin story, he is an old man seeking eternal youth, flying around, preying upon people and stealing their youthful energy.
Can we bring that in? I would like
I believe
to have seen that
that's
story.
is
Well,
that
that's not his
is the-
original one.
What's the original?
Uh-oh.
The original
knew-
one is that he was an inventor that got screwed over by his partner.
an inventor?
Yes, an inventor.
Oh, I thought you said
And so-
an Avenger. I was like,
No.
which one?
Yeah. So he designed that whole Vulture harness, and the idea is that he's going to go seek revenge on the partner that screwed him and kind of screwed him out of his portion of the company.
Okay.
and
I
all his
couldn't-
inventions.
The Vulture also
Kind of.
flies like a bird. He doesn't
Yeah.
have propellers or jets.
Does he screech too as he flies around?
I think a Vulture has probably
Well,
screeched.
his original, he's got like the little kind of like the white kind of like a turtleneck kind of puffiness, and then he's just got his old man bald with kind of a beak-like nose.
I
Yeah,
think
he
the-
looks
the-
like a vulture.
The harness was super cool. I don't know how to feel about his origin, because part of me thinks it's really cool that it wasn't super hokey, that it wasn't like, oh, I got shot and came back from the dead and now I'm exacting my revenge. But part of me is like, overreact much? Well, it's like a contract that you lost, so now you're going to start like making weapons of destruction. But part of me liked that it wasn't too over the top. A part of me's like, you took it like really personally. It's not like that Stark himself was like, take this guy off the project because now this is happening. It just felt kind of a weird misdirect to me.
But I like the smallness of it though, because I feel like all the other Marvel films are like huge stakes.
Yeah.
This is like a Spider-Man film. It's like really dialed back, really small stakes, which I like is just like an introduction. So even like the motivations of the villain could be very much small stakes compared to everybody else.
Yeah, I guess I don't know. I feel conflicted about it because I felt like it was such a jump. Like it was like, and now fortunately, I'm just like, I work construction. Fortunately, all these geniuses work with me and we know how to harness this
Yeah,
alien
that one
energy.
guy was just like, oh, you make a great stuff for
it
this.
it was kind of a weird thing to me and it was just kind of weird. And I love Michael Keaton, but I adore Michael Keaton. But does anybody else watch 30 Rock?
Yeah.
You reminded me of his cameo on 30 Rock where every single thing was like, on my last day before retirement. Like I felt like he was
He ends up
just
getting shot.
Yeah, I felt like exactly.
The only
Like,
character gets
I gotta go
shot
home to my baby.
on 30 Rock.
We're gonna get married. Like that whole thing. I kind of felt like that to me. It just felt like such a leap. I don't know.
Well, Cameron asked me a question yesterday if this fixed the Marvel villain problem. I'm curious what you guys think. Because, I mean, Loki's the best villain yet in a Marvel movie, but how do you think that the Vulture stacks up in comparison to a lot of the other ones that we've seen?
I liked how real he was, and this maybe goes like counter of what I just said. But I don't know how I feel about his origin specifically. But I loved
it's a jump, and it's also
I loved his realness, his like real talk in the car. I'm like, fuck, he's scary.
Yeah,
I love it.
We should take a moment and talk about that scene. But just to finish that point, it's like 8 years. So I don't know if maybe like that was a pretty big
That's
jump.
true. That is true. That's
and
a
so
big
there
time
is
time
that.
jump.
So we don't know what happened in that time to get him from. I got fucked out of this job, and I just need to make the money back that I invested, that I got screwed out of. To I am now an arms dealer stealing from Tony Stark.
Yeah, you're right. I think that I think that's just one of those things that
And we do know that
jolted me a little
because
bit.
it's part of the whole Netflix storyline, that there was a lot of kind of like construction companies that were buying up all of these things to operate on themselves. And I assume he wasn't part of any of those big evil hand corporations. So maybe he just couldn't get a job anywhere.
Yeah.
But what I like though is that it really just sets up like that why Spider-Man I think benefits so much more about being now a part of the Marvel universe is that there's like if you mention like that whole battle for New York just is such like a seminal event in the Marvel Cinematic Universe that changes everything. Imagine you're in a world where all of a sudden aliens are coming through some weird vortex and you've got gods appearing now and they're fighting them. It would totally change the way that you would perceive the world. And so all of a sudden you see yourself getting trampled over by all these incredible things. Like you're going to do anything you can to try to just get your kind of stake in the world.
And the opening shot is this very mundane, just normal construction crew chopping off metal pieces from a giant sea whale.
Yes.
Like that sort of will really give you some perspective of what the scale is of everything. But also but it was cool because it was very mundane. Like there's scaffolding around it. It's not, no one brought attention to the fact that there was a giant fucking alien behind them with all this inhuman tech, not actually inhuman, but terrestrial tech attached to it, and it was just kind of not batting an eye because the world has just so radically changed. It's just like, all right, this is it.
I do like that. I think that this movie to me I like the kind of hyper realism of it. I felt like the stakes were real, and maybe I went in. I did not have any expectations for this film. I wasn't like super jazzed to see it. I wasn't like, I'm gotta go see it. I'm like, this will probably be fun. But I thought it was really cute. Like I really liked this Spider-Man. He was like, I bought him as a kid. No other Spider-Man so far I've actually bought as a kid.
Because they're all 30.
Yeah.
This is right.
But I don't know
men.
how old this actor actually is, but I actually
21.
He's
Yeah.
21. I bought him as young. I thought he played that really well. I thought he was going to get on my nerves, and he didn't. And so I do appreciate with this coming. This is relevant for the Vulture because I think that when you do lose it, if you lose a job, especially if you've got people depending on you, it is personal to you, you know? So it's like, I lost this construction job. Like, you do want to lash out at somebody. I guess I'd forgotten about the time lapse.
Yeah.
Which for me is a big thing. I thought it was literally like, I lost my job. Like, make more, like, make weapons. So.
Small question about the time jump. Is this in the future? Because Avengers came out 2012, if I'm correct.
set in 2012?
I don't know.
Yeah, but it would technically be 2020 if it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Because like Guardians is only a couple months later, so Guardians is still like 2014. the timeline is kind of fucked. If you actually genuinely sit down and think about it, I don't think it lines up with really anything.
Does it line up with Iron Man 2? Because there's all the news coming out that the little kid from Iron Man 2 was Peter Parker, and there is that little nod to it at when he's doing the vlogging, where the first shot is the globe where all the robots kind of went crazy.
Thank you, Mr. Sunday Movies, for pointing that out.
Shout out to Sunday Movies for giving me that little fact.
Well, yeah, because I mean, I guess that would have to work because Peter's 15 in this, so 8 years. You have to think that was probably a year in between Iron Man 2 to Avengers.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, he would have had to been like 7 for the timeline to work out, 6 or 7.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, it's just sort of, it doesn't really altogether jibe. Because, yeah, 8 years is way beyond. It hasn't been 8 years since the Avengers came out.
Right.
So I don't know.
Maybe the Thor 2 wormholes had some time warping effects. Or that's gonna be where the time Infinity Gem comes in.
Because we've already like seen him in that upstate Avengers location.
Yeah.
So it was weird. It was weird. Like, oh, we got to move all this shit out of the old tower. Like, I thought all that was done off screen already.
No, that's true. It's like they just completely redecorate everything. It's
That
like,
felt
it looked-
weird, right?
Looked pretty good the first time I saw it too.
Yeah.
All right. You say so.
I think one of my favorite lines of the movie was, all right, well, I think Captain America's a war criminal now,
Yes.
whatever. Whatever.
Oh man, I loved all of those videos that they play at the school.
right.
It's
The
just like
post-credit scene.
and that they roll in
Yes.
the cart, the TV on the cart. I was like, oh, throwback. These are real smart kids, and this is a real hip high school, but they still got that cart with
Yeah.
TV
So you're in
on it.
detention.
Yeah, exactly. And he's like he's like, because you're coach, and the coach is like standing on the other side of it.
Yeah, no, I
It's
thought
like,
the high school genre like really played, and that's one thing like I really love about these superhero movies is like they don't all feel the same to me. They're all told through a different lens and different stories, and I thought this one had like a really fun like high school movie
was a John
feel
Hughes
to
movie,
it.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, it straight up pulls us, like it shows you what it's referencing when Spider-Man's chasing after the energy beam with this Ferris Bueller cut to it. So it's like, this is entirely the Ferris Bueller chase. We just didn't have the money to get the music.
yeah.
That is not the music that is featured in that. It's that like high energy score. It is not Yellow's.
I know that, but try not to say that.
No, I know. That is the iconic sound of that movie, but I know what was
Great,
pulled
you
from
guys.
it.
Chris,
Now
we
we
can't
own
afford that.
$28,000.
We're going to cut
To
all that
Yellow.
out.
Yellow with no W, I believe.
Everything's curious, like with the wall crawling. Especially, I feel like I noticed that a lot. Where it's never quite like super. He doesn't adhere 100% to something when he's crawling. There's always like a little bit of like sliding or a little bit of like looseness before he like really clings on. I don't know. For some reason, that kind of bothered me. I was like, I just want a Spider-Man. He's like, he's always just doing his thing.
I
don't
liked
know.
it because it felt still kind of new to me. Not always, but I liked that there's one sequence when he's trying to get somewhere in a hurry and he's doing all different kinds of roofs and things like that, and he's kind of like sliding. It added to me the teen awkwardness of it, and maybe I think that was one of the things that made me buy him as younger, is that he wasn't smooth, like he wasn't slick. But I didn't understand why he couldn't stick to the Washington.
I
Yeah,
saw it
that
as
I felt
fatigue.
like-
I didn't get that. Oh, fatigue.
Fatigue,
That's
or
how I
maybe
saw
like
it.
the building or something. Like it's a polished building. I don't know.
I guess I'm like, oh, he can stick to the ceiling, but he can't just like upright.
But it's also like I was reading some stuff where they comment about the fact that like this is Spider-Man. He fucking is swinging from skyscrapers in New York, but he's still not really comfortable with heights yet. He's not fully into the world because we see him at the top of the Washington Monument like, oh god.
But do we see him at this point? Do we see him swinging very high through the city?
No,
he
because
hasn't
they asked
been
him,
in Queens.
how far can you do it? And he's like, I don't know.
Yeah, because you also
I
see him
don't know.
driving through the city, which is something I never thought I'd see Spider-Man do, except in Ultimate, the
Spider
cartoon,
Baggy.
when he has his spider cycle.
Yeah.
I liked him. I little baby Spider-Man. He's Spider Boy.
I loved they acknowledged in the movie that Spider-Man is useless in the suburbs. That he's out there
Yeah.
trying to leave the house and he gets to the golf course. He's like, oh crap, and
That
he
was-
has to run. Like
that
that's
was-
genius. They actually put that
that
I
in there.
forgot like who it was that said it, but like it was some like New York person saying like Spider-Man can only happen in New York. you need it can only happen on Manhattan. That's the
Yeah.
only place where Spider-Man even is worthwhile. We're like watching.
You don't think we're ever going to see Spidey sitting on the Hollywood sign?
No.
There was like a 15-second animated short where it was like Superman and Spider-Man switch places, and it shows him sitting on top of the barn, and he like tries to swing to a tree, and it just like falls on his face. It's like that's all I could think of during that scene.
So what do we think about the suit? It's cool Stark tech upgrades. I mean, certainly the web shooters.
Are we
which they
talking
kept us-
about?
I'm glad
the
you asked.
Stark
I was-
or
I
the
was-
it's
Ben
Indochino.
Reilly?
It's really comfortable.
Yeah.
I was going to
the
ask.
Ben Ri-
I was
that-
going to
yeah.
ask you what you thought of the suit because suits are your thing, and it's become my question.
I dug this. I mean, I still don't like some of the outer things, like with the black bands and a lot of the needlessly kind of little lines on it, but just the blue and red, the right color saturation level, and I don't mind it being like a Stark AI kind of upgrade inside there.
Okay, so not the big like suit porn at the end where it's like this
Yes.
like this bronzy suit, right? Or we're not talking about that
Right,
one yet. But
no.
I do
Yeah,
want to know what you think about that one, just
Oh,
not
yeah.
yet.
Is that? I was asking Cameron. Is that a specific? I mean, I know the Iron Spider was from Civil War, and that's not what that looks like. But is that general design based off of something specific?
There's a couple like when Dan Slott did a couple things where he kind of the long spider symbol around it was kind of a couple reference, but nothing directly. Okay. Some of the concepts with the way that the design of the spider, how it's so huge, kind of a nod to a couple other costumes that have been around.
What do you guys think of Karen?
Karen.
I thought I was gonna hate Karen about 30 seconds in, and it was just enough Karen for me.
Yeah,
It was like
it
just that
turned
scene,
into her.
Yeah.
Featuring Tom Holland and Jennifer Connelly.
a little bit. Yeah, it did. It was.
Is that her, Peter? Tell her you love her.
Give her a
Oh,
kiss
that's
upside
what
down.
it was. Okay. I was like, you guys mentioned Iron Spider, and I'm like, what the fuck is that?
I was speaking of suits at the very end. I was expecting the white emblem from the video game that's coming out, and I'm kind of happy it's different because even like in the Batman Arkham games, the suit is always a little different. But yeah, I was both happy and surprised that it wasn't the video game suit that he didn't have at the end.
Yeah, I was just like, they finally got the eyes right.
Yes.
Like that was the one thing that Andrew Garfield's Amazing Spider-Man 2 had was the big ass Mark Bagley eyes on the suit. Like that was cool. But this was like bringing a freaking John Romita drawing to life. Like that suit, I get what you're saying, Frank, with like the armband stuff like that. So it's like, all right, I mean, you guys are just being different to be different, as opposed to just give us the freaking regular suit.
Yeah.
But you're right with the colors and everything. Like, it seems if the red's not muted, like it didn't feel too muted on Tobey Maguire's, but the blue super was.
Yeah.
And Andrew Garfield's suit entirely was just muted. And so to see them get the color balance just perfectly right, have it be bright and shiny, have the eyes finally look right, but also like giving the slight nod to the artistic shorthand of giving Spider-Man like expressive eyes. That was super cool. Like they figured out a way in story to allow that to happen on screen. It was just like ultimately with this movie, it could be bad or it could be good, but it is the first time we have had true blue Spider-Man on the screen.
I also appreciated that we know where the suit comes from. That was always my biggest problem with.
Yeah, he didn't
The other
design
two
it in a
Spider-Man.
graphing notebook and then sew it himself somehow.
Yeah. Yeah, because you
Yeah.
see his own suit is just
Yeah, that
a
is
hoodie.
what a 15-year-old kid would be able to sew.
Yeah.
Is a freaking mask with a sweatshirt and like what appears to be sweatpants.
and goggles cut through the mask.
Yeah, that was so
Yeah.
funny. I like that they went back to it. Usually, like, first you see the shitty suit, and then the suits just keep getting better. So I like that he had the shitty suit and then got this new suit and then had to get used to the new suit and then became accustomed to it and then had to, like, drop back to the shitty suit. I thought that was really fun.
Well, I feel like, and a lot of that has to do with the marketing. Like, if you watch a trailer, you thought you knew the beats of the movie, where it's the New York Ferry, old costume, then the Washington, D.C. Monument was going to be the big finale set piece. At least that's what I thought watching the trailer. Maybe with an Iron Man, him and Iron Man teaming up to fight at the end of the day. And
I did
totally-
not think that.
You didn't?
No, I pretty much knew that. I had a suspicion that was all going to be earlier with the Washington Monument, and that the finale was going to be him in the crap suit.
Frank,
Really?
he
Well,
Yeah.
has to go back to New York. Haven't you been listening to what you're so passionate about? It couldn't end in D.C.
If you fight Spider-Man, you fight all in New York.
No.
Pretty
Got
sure
the
that's a direct
cranes.
quote from Spider-Man 1.
That's
It
right.
Yeah, the cranes. Thank Christ there were no cranes in this film.
Line them up, guys!
See Thomas Howell.
Yes.
gasping for breath.
There was no carrying Spider-Man in the Christ position.
Oh, every
Dang.
Spider-Man needs
But
that
again,
movie.
but one
Needs
thing
that
that Sam Raimi totally understood, one of the best set pieces of Spider-Man 2 is him trying to stop the train. That's what Spider-Man is. Spider-Man isn't this guy going into crazy action set pieces. Like Spider-Man is not built as a character to give us like the hallway fight scene from Daredevil. Or anything similar to what we've seen like Captain America's action scene. Spider-Man's set pieces are feats of strength and him just refusing to give up. And we got that cool fairy sequence, the awesome sequence calling back to the Stan Lee thing where he gets
Yes.
trapped under the rubble. That's what Spider-Man is.
That scene with him under the rubble was very cool.
It was so cool, and that was another thing that I'm glad they gave no hints of at the trailer. I would have been upset if I kind of knew that coming.
And
But
I
yeah.
just like that because we got a moment where they had Tony Stark being that kind of like father figure instead of like, let's reference Uncle Ben at this moment. It's like, no, it was cool that it was Tony Stark's voice that he heard in there. And then you get to see the split scene of the mask in his face in the water. It's like, that's.
Oh, they finally gave us that.
Yes.
How has that gone untapped for 15 years? We've had this is the 6th Spider-Man movie, his 7th movie appearance, 15 years of content, and we haven't ever gotten a half Spider-Man face.
I know.
I mean, especially now with all of the UI stuff.
Yeah.
Like with Iron Man and Vulture, like I feel like that could be super easily done, and they did it in a very creative way, which I
Yeah.
really appreciated.
Yeah, I liked seeing him. He's he's just a kid. I keep saying it over and over again. I'm sorry. I just really dug that they understood that the limitations of being a kid. And so seeing him under that rubble and just frankly just like crying,
Yes.
being just like too weak to even yell
Before
anything.
anything, he just yelled out, "I'm trapped under here."
Yeah,
Help me,
that
help
was
me, help me." Yeah.
really, really good. It was
Yeah.
like, what would you actually do? And then, and then seeing him like finally just summon all the strength. And then
Pump
to me,
himself up.
see that he's
Come on,
like, that's
Spider-Man.
part of it is like
Come on,
him.
Spider-Man.
Yeah. I love that. I thought it was really good.
Yeah, it was really cute.
Yeah, I thought it was really precious.
Well, 'cause that brings us back to like the whole villain reveal. So, because I know they leaked out with Zendaya's character that her name was Michelle Toombs. So going in, I was like, oh yeah, that's Michelle's, her father's going to be the Scorpion or the Vulture. But they leaked that out too. That was like kind of like the little teases that they kind of leaked. But so when the reveal happens that he opens up and it happens to be Liz's father is the Vulture. That was that took me by surprise.
That was cool.
Chris was ahead of it the whole time. He knew exactly what was
Well, no,
going on.
I was confused because I didn't remember reading anything about it being Michelle Toombs. I didn't hear. I missed
Yeah,
that.
they released that cast list where it was like Michelle Toombs. So we thought,
Oh, okay. That's what threw me there.
Yeah.
But no, I did not see that one coming.
no, it was nice.
Yeah.
Well, it was so cool. Like it was just such a natural reveal. Like I feel like a lot of times when they're about to reveal someone's evilness, especially in a comic book movie, there's a build, and that was just it felt the tension you felt going into that scene was the tension of a 15-year-old boy meeting the father of his senior date. That was the tension. Like, what's Spider-Man gonna do in this scene? How is he gonna mess it up? Is he gonna like do like one of those like Andrew Garfield things where he accidentally like sticks to something or something like that? Like, is that what's gonna happen? Like, that's what you think the tension's gonna be. And it was a great reversal of him like actually like, no, this is where your lives collide. Is in this moment.
And then that whole scene, I love that they played it the entire time.
Yeah.
And I'd forgotten that her mom is a teacher at the school, or maybe they didn't say that because I thought that was nice too because he knew her mom already, which is just like that much more awkward because it's like, oh god, like it's not just the girl, I also know the mom, and it's this
And
whole
it was
thing.
it was a better reveal. Like comparing it to other Spider-Man movies, it was a better figure out scene than Willem Dafoe figuring out, putting 2 and 2 together that Peter Parker was Spider-Man in that.
Yeah,
I mean, that damn bike messenger, though, just totally messed up Peter's sleeve. So,
Work was murder. Avenge me! I wish someone had said that in this movie, though. But again, like it was just so naturalistic of a genuinely smart man, not played dumb, but also not like intellectually like book smart. Like he's smart in other ways. Like just putting 2 and 2 together. Like Spider-Man did this, Spider-Man did that. Peter was there. Peter was that. I recognize his voice. Oh fucking shit! It's a 15-year-old kid. He just pulls a gun on him.
Yeah.
and Peter's just like, shut up, date. Like, stop talking. Like
He
why
also
do you know
never. I don't
everything?
think he ever points the gun directly at Peter.
No.
He just pulls it out and like, I got this. That was cool too.
Yeah. And like when he says like for all the reasons I didn't want my daughter to date.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah, that's a good one.
But I like that there's no hesitation. Peter Parker just gets out, says, I got to go, Liz, sorry, you don't deserve this, and then just takes off. There's no hesitation. Like, I'm still going to do what I need to do. I like that.
They're gonna have to really earn Spider-Man no more if they're ever gonna tackle that with this Spider-Man.
But do you want to see that?
No. But I mean, that's all. But it is also kind of a core thing of Spider-Man. This tension between living an actual life and living the superhero life. That they struck the balance perfectly. But again, they've also struck the fact that Peter Parker is like cultishly devoted to with great power comes great responsibility. It's just so ingrained in him that he can't stop. He can't help himself. Liz Allen is offering herself in her bathing suit. Go hang out, guys. Let's go hang out in the pool. He's like, nah, I gotta. A 15-year-old boy said, nah, I gotta go deal with this.
Yeah.
I liked that in this one they didn't go too deep into that actually, because like they did that such a great job of that in Spider-Man 2 especially, of him like being torn between being a hero and trying to live his normal life. What I liked about this was that his life wasn't super depressing. Like he was having to give up on things that he wanted to do, and it felt more like a
Band.
Yeah, like the band. Like he felt like a teenager who felt overwhelmed rather than a guy who just like keeps getting shit on. And I liked that in general. This one was way less bleak than every other Spider-Man movie, which at a certain point you get tired of him just constantly getting the shit kicked out of him
I like
all
that
the time.
Like to that point, like he had the really easy chance of like making himself look super baller at that party. And he didn't like it, but it would have been so easy. He could have just swung in and been like, "Where's my buddy at?" And then like, "Oh well," and then ducked out, and then that could have been the whole thing. Like it would have taken 6 seconds, but he was like, "No, I gotta run through this golf course and save some things."
But even like that, where when he goes back to his apartment and he has Karen go through all the video, we do get to see him psyching himself up for that really cool moment that we never actually get to see. But
yeah,
doing a Thor impression.
I liked his buddy being the chair, like
Yeah, the chair.
yeah, and I like that I actually bought that. For me, that's part of the realism, right? It's like you buy the technology because he's using technology that you actually could. He's using like essentially Find My iPhone, you know, and he's so smart to leave his phone in the car.
Ooh.
Genius. But I liked that he wasn't like, oh, I used my drone to like drone the car. He's like, nah, I just dropped my iPhone in the back of the car and now I'll do like a Find My iPhone. And also like, how the hell, where are the blinkers on this thing? And it's like nice little plug for Audi or whatever it was. But also that he's like, oh, I'll look up the specs on the car. I thought that was really cool. It was all realistic stuff.
But I felt like the car, like who doesn't know how to find the light? I don't know. I felt like the lights, like I mean, maybe
To
15
be fair, the first time, the day after I got my license, I had a very horrible experience where my windshield got so much bird poop on it that I couldn't see out of it, and it took me 45 minutes.
Stop parking on the boardwalk.
There was one tree in our high school parking lot, and I parked, and it was like the closest spot. And I'm like, why isn't anyone taking this spot? And I learned very quickly why. And it took me 45 minutes to find where the windshield wiper was.
I've had that in rental cars where I didn't know where I was like, why isn't because I have mine on auto, my lights on auto, and I've been in rental cars and I'm like, I don't know, and I've had to do that. I've had to go through the manual. So maybe you've just been blessed, Frank.
I guess. Or
You're
I
just
just
smarter than all of us,
That's
Frank.
right. I have a good relationship with the cars.
I guess so. Practically a mechanic.
Yeah,
He
that's true.
says he's looking at the specs, but he's just looking at porn.
But I like that.
that
I
was funny.
I like that line, and I also like just a realistic thing of like Zendaya just flipping him the bird when he's
Oh,
about to go to
that was
prom.
hilarious. Like, fuck
Like,
you,
yes.
Peter, man. We're partying our balls off. What I thought was like hilarious, and I laughed harder than I probably should, was the teenagers playing Fuck, Marry, Kill with the Avengers.
That was
yeah,
amazing.
that was
like
great.
legitimately, that girl said, "I would fuck Thor, I would marry Iron
Agreed.
Man, and I'd kill the Hulk."
Yeah, and this is even pre-haircut Thor.
I know this is not hottest Thor.
Let's run through it. Let's run through it. All right, so we got
took a little
Chris's
moment
opinion.
of silence.
Frank, fuck, Mary, kill, Avengers.
Oh gosh, are we just still doing
All Avengers.
All Avengers? Well, I mean, you're gonna
Movie Avengers.
Right.
movie Avengers. Oof, man.
Let's keep it classic 6. The classic 6.
Okay, so we're not putting Scarlet Witch in there.
Yeah, let's keep those Inhumans out of
Really?
this.
Elizabeth
Okay,
Olsen. Oh,
there you go.
okay.
So, I mean, I guess so. You got to F Black Widow, but then you got to marry Captain America.
Oh,
And then-
always.
Yeah, and then I guess kill.
Hawkeye. I mean,
Yeah.
what's he doing?
Yeah, he's not doing much. I'll kill Hawkeye.
And then Linda Cardellini becomes a widow. Swoop in.
Amanda?
No,
Amanda?
I don't know. I go to this one's too hard. I'll do it in a minute.
You could do Netflix if that makes it easier.
I
F.
can
Mary
go-
Kill, Daredevil, Luke Cage, and Iron Fist. Seems
Or
pretty.
Jessica Jones. I mean,
Yeah.
come on.
I mean, if you want
That
Jessica
makes
Jones,
that all
done-
makes it harder. No, hold on.
I don't know.
Okay,
It feels
Cameron,
pretty
you
easy to
go.
me. Kill Iron Fist, fuck
Yes.
Luke
Luke
Cage,
Cage.
and marry Matt Murdock.
Oh, I would do.
Although I feel-
I'll
I
do
feel
Mary
a
Mur-
bit-
I do.
yeah.
I do F. Murdoch, marry
Mary-
Jessica Jones.
Because he's got those senses.
Yeah. He'll make me feel real good.
No, oh man. No, Cameron. Go.
Or Agents
Did
of
you
Shield,
choose?
if that works better
no,
for
these
you.
are all. You're giving me too many options. It's too hard.
F. Coulson, marry Melinda May,
Can I not just?
and kill Trip
Can I just-
because they already did it.
Oh. Can I just fuck and marry Luke Cage
Yeah.
and
sure.
kill
Yeah, that's fine.
Spider-Man?
I mean, you
What?
We killed the
I do.
Spider-Man.
I would not. I think that.
15, I would hope not.
Well, I wouldn't have sex with him.
Just marry him
He's
now.
not gonna know what he's doing. He's 15. And I.
You can't even find the windshield wipers.
Amen. Yeah, man. Don't worry about webs shooting everywhere. It sounds terrible.
They're not organic web shooters. That's okay.
Sounds awful. Yeah, I don't know. This is really hard. It's like I'm thinking. I'm overthinking it. I think I'm just overthinking it.
How was it like to have Happy Hogan back in a film? Did you guys miss
I
Happy
loved
Hogan?
it.
I loved Happy.
John Favreau is like on par with Sam Jackson in the smartness he has shown in getting himself into these movies. Like he was the director who's like, you know what? I don't have to worry about. I'll be Happy Hogan. I want to be one of these characters. I'll be that. And then now he's in all the Iron Mans. He's fucking now a main part of Spider-Man. He knew how to do it right.
Do we want to see him in the Spider-Man movies going forward?
Well, I kind of like the idea that they kind of set up that he's kind of like the go-between between Tony Stark and Peter Parker. It's kind of an interesting role for Happy to have.
Well, he's somebody who really. I mean, we haven't seen much of him, and so there's still a lot of room to develop the character outside of it. Like, does Happy have a girlfriend? Does he have like a roommate? Like, what does he have friends like outside of this? I'd love to kind of see that little extension of Happy's universe. And maybe Peter could, because it's also like what's nice about Happy having this relationship with Peter is Happy is clearly like this like lame duck like kind of bullshit friend of Tony Stark's, but in Peter Parker's world, he's the fucking like chauffeur valet of hotshot billionaire Tony Stark, and so like he's got higher status in Spider-Man's world than he ever will in Iron Man's world.
I do like that moment where he does. He and Tony have that moment like, I told you that. In a very personal moment, and please don't make fun of this.
Yeah. Or even at the very end, he's like, "Yeah, Tony and I have to talk. Can you step out for a second?
Yeah.
We need to have a talk."
Or even, how long have you been in the bathroom? Long enough for it to be awkward.
Is Tony in there? No.
Some random kid.
But I do like that they let that play out, just that whole thing, just to be
No
so
cuts
awkward.
at
Yep.
all.
And hey, everybody, Tony and Pepper are back together.
I was gonna
Yeah,
ask.
how do we feel about that?
Eye roll.
Really?
Kinda.
But they're engaged now.
Well, it's mostly Gwyneth Paltrow, and like I really can't see her as Pepper Potts anymore. It's just Gwyneth Paltrow.
Yeah, maybe that's it.
Well, she lost some credibility with those like jade vagina rocks. So
Yeah.
And steaming.
just
She
everything.
was telling women to steam their vaginas.
Wait, what?
Steaming. She.
Like with a
her-
steamer? Like a
Like-
like you would like
Is
steam
that
a
why
shirt?
it's been so hot in here, man?
No, that's just my natural resting state. No, the women were going. She's like, well, this whole thing that she was advocating on her blog. That was like, first of all, just because the blog tells you to do it, don't do it, guys. Can I just say that? But yeah, just women were steaming their vaginas because it was like, oh, if you do, like squat over a thing with herbs and shit, like
Yeah.
it's good for your vagina.
Eternally used.
I want to see just imagine Gwyneth. That's why I guess why Coldplay guy left him because you
can't.
walk in on her and she's just squatting over like a little steamer. Like,
And it's
what
like,
am I
and a
doing?
jade egg just falls out.
Plop.
It's just like, I can't even.
So of course at the end of the movie we get like you get to see Peter's dream and realize he's like, oh my gosh, he's gonna go upstate, gets to hang out with Tony Stark, gets asked to be in the Avengers and then turns it down. And certainly they oversell it with all like, well, this is where you're gonna live now and you'll be next to the Vision. It's like, all right, he's certainly overselling it, but
Is it just Vision living there?
yeah.
Who else is left on the
is
Avengers?
Vision, Rhodey?
Scarlet Witch.
Is there? No.
No, she's on
she's
the-
she's in the wind.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, I think it's just the Vision, actually. Yeah, pretty much.
So it's Don Cheadle and android Paul Bettany are the two guys hanging out.
I mean, this seems like a setup for a new Three Men and the Baby spinoff.
I mean, again, like, and also what's fun about Spider-Man and the lower stakes is like it kind of realistically makes a possibility for like a Don Cheadle Vision movie, like a Rhodey Vision movie. Like, it's lower stakes, and if you get it to work, like, I'd be happy to see like the more personal lives of these characters.
You shot me. but
Well, yeah, I was
we
gonna
can
say,
get over
wouldn't that be
that.
awkward? Because Vision's the one that shot him.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just
That's
them
great
two
drama
living together.
So yes, it's perfect.
Da 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 da. Who is the Oscar and who's the Felix? What do we think? We don't have to answer that.
No,
I'm still on
Ro-
this fuck, Mary,
Rhodey's
kill.
the-
I'm
Rhodey-
literally doing
Rhodey's the
like, on
Oscar.
my phone. I'm staring at these pictures, being like, "Who would I do?"
Which Chris is,
Yeah.
is the question right now.
There it is. Okay, how about that?
Which
Mary
Chris?
Kill, Chris Evans, Chris Hemsworth, Chris Pratt.
Oh, why Chris?
I've
Pratt?
Because he's
well,
Guardians
he's
of the Galaxy.
he's
I know,
DC.
we
can't count
He's-
him, but
Oh,
yeah.
I can do that. Okay. Oh, Chris. Fuck, Mary, kill, Chris.
Yeah.
The crisis. The crisis.
Okay, I would. Oh, okay. I would.
First, let's just
I'd
look,
fuck
look
Chris
past
Evans,
the two
I'd
Chris.
marry-
I know. Yeah, the two.
No, there's more important Chris's out there.
Well, the
Let
good
me
news
just go
is
on.
I would only have to
Let's-
fuck one of you and marry the other one, and I wouldn't have to kill either of you. Just stay on
kill
my
them.
good
Oh, yeah,
side.
or yeah.
Just stay on my good
Three of
side.
us could kill Trevor for fun.
This is
Yeah, that
getting-
sounds great.
It's getting really real.
Come on.
Yeah, the Chris's are easier to narrow down.
All right.
And
I think I would. Okay, so I'd fuck my parents listen to this. Sorry, guys, but on
You
the
could say
level,
F, like the
I would.
movie did, PG-13.
No, it's too late. They already know. I already talked about vagina steaming. I can't go back now.
Vagina is a medical term.
I told my dad that. My dad's like, we don't use the V word. I'm like, we do. We do use
Yes,
it. I
whi-
could
which-
use. You don't want the alternative.
What is he? Does he go like euphemism, like full blown, like hoo ha?
No,
or
he's just like, don't.
It's
you're-
like
you're-
Voldemort in your house.
It's like it is. It's
but
like, it's
we've
like
gotten off track
Voldemort.
here. Which one of the Chris's did you have intercourse with?
Okay, I would have intercourse with Chris Evans. I would marry Chris Pratt, and I'm sorry, Chris Hemsworth.
Ooh.
You're dying. You're dead. I love you though.
Hey,
Alright.
Jake Wilder, you got to go with it.
You guys, I mean, what really though? Do you guys disagree with me?
No.
Who
I-
wouldn't want to marry Chris Pratt
I would want to marry Chris Evans.
on the level?
Yeah, I'd marry Evans.
Would
Yeah.
you?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He'll bring me donkeys in the morning.
So, I have to
I
admit,
guess so.
one thing about that Tony Stark scene at the end is I didn't really like that. I wanted to like that speech more between the conversation between him and Peter Parker at the end. Like his terrible euphemism that he tried, like, oh, you screwed the pooch and you raised the hybrid puppies. It's, oh, it's terrible. It's like, that whole, I just wanted a better bonding moment between the two of them. And I feel like I never really got it out of that scene. So that was my one disappointment.
I actually thought that there was going to be more Iron Man in the movie than what there actually was.
Because there's that one trailer shot where they're flying together through Queens.
Yes,
You're
you're
it's
like,
not
oh,
in
yeah,
there
there's
at all,
a battle
yeah.
where they team up. I thought maybe at some point Iron Man and Vulture would have to face off.
Do we know why he was in India?
Doing
Yeah.
Stark
Tony
shit.
Stark, man.
Stark shit? All right.
Yeah.
I liked it when he was like, if you really care, you'd be here. And then he walks out of his suit. And it's like, he cares.
He does care. Yeah, I thought there was going to be a much bigger plot about Aunt May and Tony. I was happy that it ended at the beginning, but I feel like all the rumors after the first trailer was like, oh, he's going to have to deal with his mentor wanting to sleep with his mother figure,
Oh, that
and
would
how
make
that's
things
like
real
That was
complicated.
everyone in the movie.
He's like, he
Yeah.
comes out, he's like, I really am your father figure, kid. Like,
Yeah.
it's just like Tony in a towel.
Well, even like the guy at the restaurant's like, oh, yeah, here, this is on the house, the sticky rice. Like,
I did appreciate. I thought that was gonna get old really fast, and it was a good just like 3 times, and it's never mentioned again in the film.
That's
And I
And
really
like-
appreciated
She
that.
was so fun. I would just want to hang out with her. She seemed so fun.
Yeah.
But I love that he shot back, oh, how's your daughter?
yes.
It was
It's like, all right, that's $10.
Yeah. That was funny.
Well, also like she was like pseudo hippie too. Like she's got like the high waisted pants
Yeah.
and like those like super round
Yeah, I
glasses.
didn't think she was like hypersexualized, which I dug. I just
Yeah,
think
she's
just
more
seemed
like
real cool.
bohemian. I think you were right when you said it before. Like she's just so she's Marissa Tomei. There's just a natural beauty to her that's undeniable. But it's not like, oh, I'm gonna fuck Aunt May. Like it was never like that. Like never did you feel like that at all.
I'm
Like
so-
I
Speak
did
for
when I watched
yourself,
my cousin
Trevor.
Vinny.
Yeah, did you-
Amen.
but did you guys not have
Or
that feeling
the
with Sally
original
Fields in
Spider-Man.
the last Spider-Man
Or-
movie? No.
Or the wrestler.
Her and I were going to do a bunch of Boniva together and just get our freak on.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Sally Field doesn't hold a candle to Rosemary Harris.
You guys are the worst.
All right, F. Mary kill the Aunt May.
Steve.
Universe.
All right, now we're on
Yes.
to something.
All right, Trevor.
Now we're on. All right, so
No.
fuck Rosemary Harris.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, because she knows. She knows stuff. She has to know. She grew up in like the 40s. She came of age in like old school Hollywood.
Yeah.
She has to know some crazy stuff. I think I gotta marry Marissa Tomei. As much as I love Norma Ray Sally Field,
How would you not marry Sally Fields? She is a goddess.
it's Marissa
among
Tomei.
mortals. Yeah,
because I feel like if I killed Sally Field, it only releases her pure form to ascend to heaven. I feel like Sally Field is actually God, like in Dogma, and she's trapped in human form, and so I have to kill her to release her to become the goddess of the world.
I worry about what we're going to see in the newspaper tomorrow. Sally Fields
Yeah.
has been killed.
In a horrendous Hannibal style display of her body.
oh my god.
The altar of a church, Sally Field's body was
That's
found.
right. Did we tell anybody what we know, guys?
It's really gone off the rails.
Podcast coming out Wednesday.
Let's get back on track, guys. Fuck, marry, kill Uncle Ben's. And I'm assuming Joe Pesci's is Uncle Ben.
Ooh.
Oh.
I'm glad we're making this. I'm glad we're making these equal opportunities. Somebody's gonna pull my feminist
I'm going to
card
marry
for
Martin
allowing that whole
Sheen. I'm going to say
conversation.
that right
Yeah,
now.
marry
I'm
Martin Sheen,
How many- okay,
fuck
who-
Joe Pesci, and kill original
Uncle Ben.
Uncle Ben,
Oh,
Sam
yes.
Raimi, Uncle Ben. Exactly. What's his name?
Oh,
Cliff
gosh.
Roberts.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Kill
Yeah,
him.
kill him. He's dead.
Such a nice old
You guys
man.
are all looking at me for
Exactly.
my approval. I'm
I got no
like,
reason.
Are
it's
you
okay.
sitting here in this podcast and telling me you want it fuck Cliff Roberts?
I'm telling you, fuck Joe Pesci, marry Martin Sheen, because he's the good Sheen.
He's the good Sheen. I don't know that I.
Carlos or Estevez. I forget what his
Yes.
real
Yeah,
name.
they're technically all
Well,
Estevezes.
no. I forget what Martin
Estevez.
Sheen's Martin Sheen's actual name is. Because Martin Sheen's the stage name. Charlie Sheen took it. And Emilio Estevez is the only one who's actually
kept his
rocking.
name.
That's right.
Because he's Carlos Estevez and not Charlie Sheen. And I forget what Martin Sheen's name actually is.
We can find that
Miguel?
with computers. I don't
Miguel.
think that I could take the sounds that Joe Pesci makes when you're having sex with him. I don't think.
Friggin' frackin'
I can't. That would be why I couldn't have sex with Joe Pesci. So
Am I
by
a
default,
clown?
I'd have to kill him, which sucks because I really like Joe
Well,
Pesci a lot.
I think the danger you run with playing Fuck, Marry, Kill and choosing to fuck Joe Pesci is he also is playing internally Fuck, Marry, Kill, and it's always kill. So
Martin Sheen is known as Ramon Antonio Gerardo Estevez.
Ooh, what a
You
sexy
gotta
Ramon.
say it. Look, yeah.
Mm.
Where is it?
yeah, so of course I'm
Ramon
not
Antonio
gonna. Of course I'm
Gerardo
gonna kill
Estevez.
Cliff Roberts.
That's a sexy name.
Ramon
Say
Estevez. I'll fuck that guy.
No. I think Martin's more sexier. Like you're like, oh yeah, really this exotic name. I love it. No. Martin Sheen. That's the
I want to go
go-to.
purely off my looks, nothing else.
Speaking of looks, I feel like this film, I don't know how you guys feel, like the posters for this were pretty much some of the worst posters that I've seen for a film. Like
They
none
look
of them
like
really get me
Deadpool
excited.
posters. They look like kind of like they wanted the Deadpool aesthetic, but didn't have the balls to make them funny.
The only one that I really liked was one they released, like the Nerdist even had too. It was like an homage to Amazing Fantasy 15.
Oh, that one was cool.
I thought that was cool. It's like, why wasn't that out much sooner in the film? Then
That should have been the poster over the crazy nonsense one that everyone was making fun of.
yeah.
Well, I think there's never going to be anything more striking than the first Spider-Man one, like the Twin Towers one originally, and then like the Golden Sunset one of him like flying through. Like nothing's going to beat that image in terms of like live action Spider-Man. But yeah, this one really didn't. I liked the aesthetic that they chose, but the visuals that they got with it were kind of crappy. Like
are you talking
Spider-Man
about-
on his phone, like in the web hammock, was a fun idea. Spider-Man with his backpack, like in between the buildings, is a fun idea. But whether the visuals actually like capture it in a striking way is very much up for debate.
I'm staring at this beautiful Logan poster that you brought in, and I'm just like, nothing. It's a beautiful poster. And I bring it up because it's right there. But I'm thinking of like the.
I made it myself. so.
It's really good. Good job. Good job. I'm thinking about like these posters compared to something like that, or even like
They're
I just
almost in the
don't-
exact same pose if you look at the Batman and Spider-Man posters.
Lego Batman and Spider-Man Homecoming are very similar.
The Spider-Man ad campaign was clearly created by a corporate marketing team. Like it was the most inoffensive, just following trends marketing campaign.
Well, even look at how the trailers were cut.
Yeah.
I mean, like I think we've talked about this before. That like the Thor trailer, for example, like that Ragnarok teaser was so awesome, or the way the Guardians promoted too. Like it didn't give anything away and just made you excited. And all the Spider-Man trailers, like here is the entire plot laid out, beat for beat.
Well, it must be that. I feel like that's the Sony side of things.
Yeah.
It has to have been the Sony side.
Wait, are you
of
saying that
things.
Sony makes bad decisions sometimes
How
with
dare
their
you.
spider properties?
I'm not going to say that.
But
in
it's
my
like,
head.
because everybody's like, hey, Sony's back on track now. They've got a great Spider-Man film. But does that get you at all excited about seeing a Venom film or a Black Cat and Silver Sable film? For me, it doesn't.
I just feel inundated with Venom. We talked about this didn't we talk about this on our last podcast?
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like I don't even know. I feel like I know a lot about Venom, and I've never even read a Venom book. I feel inundated with Venom. I feel like Venom is everywhere. Is that?
Well, technically, we could eventually see Indian Venom if they continue on with Flash Thompson.
That's true.
Is he Venom?
He was for a long bit. He's probably the second longest serving tenure as Venom.
Yeah.
Actually, we technically saw the other two people who have been Venom in this movie. Flash Thompson and Matt Gargan.
Yeah.
All right, those are the other two guys who have held the Venom suit for a substantial amount of time. There have been a few other like one-off kind of characters who have gotten it, mostly gangsters who have somehow scrounged enough money to get it off of Eddie Brock. But yeah, it's Venom's also like Venom's sort of a character like now so far removed from his original thing. Like the Flash Thompson version of it is so much better.
Yes.
Like the character that actively chose, like, first of all, Flash Thompson is a better protagonist than Eddie Brock is by far. But then also like seeing the evolution of the symbiote from being this like vengeful beast into being like a genuinely caring, altruistic being.
Yeah. And like reading it now where they've kind of rebooted Venom back into his original state. He's back with Eddie Brock. They did a lot of writing to get him to make
gives a
Spider-Man
shit?
again. But reading that book now, it's like this is like a Venom that I don't like anymore. Like I read him as he grew up and he evolved, and I like that evolution. But now it's like taking him back to the beginning. I don't know anybody who's been like, yes, finally, we get to see this really simplistic portrayal of these characters.
I mean, the one thing that classic Venom's always going to have is it's an amazingly striking image. The look of classic Venom kind of trumps the Agent Venom Flash Thompson look. Like it's a cool look, but it's not going to get that visceral reaction that we get from like Black Suit Venom classic. Like seeing Todd McFarlane drawing that character all beefed up and like the way he classically looks is just they never really captured that with Eddie Brock with Flash Thompson.
Not even as Venom Space Knight.
No, oh no, God, that was they've been stepping him back further and further with every march. But yeah, I mean, there's just something about the character that, like, yeah, he's just evolved past it, and to try and reboot him back to this, it's like I mean, we can get super deep cut like Wally West and DC and some of the shit they're doing, but that's sort of what it is.
That's true. He's wearing a pacemaker, guys. He's got a pacemaker now.
What?
Yeah, the Kid Flash has got a pacemaker. Or no, just Flash has got a pacemaker.
What a mess.
Yep.
Just to be like everybody can do anything, or is that why?
If he
Just to
runs
be
too
like
fast, he could
everyone's-
die.
Oh, okay.
That's my least interesting characterization of Wally West. Like, no, don't do that.
So this is a kind of a fairly big departure from the last two Spider-Man films we've seen. Is there anything that those two movies have done that, I mean, comic-wise, that you wish was in this film? Any characters or any, like, plot points?
From like the Amazing Spider-Man Andrew Garfield?
Yeah, that and the Sam Raimi's.
J.K. Simmons
Yeah.
as J. Jonah Jameson,
yeah.
which we know will never happen now because he's Commissioner Gordon. So that's out the window.
Yeah.
Oh, I love him.
But I don't. Do we even think that we'll ever get the Daily Bugle on that side of him? Like,
We will never get, because as much as an amazing thing it is, Ben Urich is dead.
Oh, yeah,
Spoiler
there's
alert
that.
for season
There's
one
that
of
too,
Daredevil.
yeah.
Yeah, so I don't think we're ever going to get the true blue Daily Bugle staff. I hope we get it
Shame.
next next step movie. Like that's the one piece that was really missing was Peter Parker working for the Daily Bugle.
Kind of more like he was doing in the Ultimate Universe, where he's kind of more like the
Web design and
Yeah.
everything, and then like stumbling into reporting with like Ben
Web
Urikerson.
design.
Oh,
There you go.
I'm fairly certain that is why Bendis did that. Because this was back in like 2000 when like surfing the web was like a real
There you
big
go.
term.
But I like the portrayal of J. Jonah Jameson and Peter Parker in the Ultimate Universe. I felt like it was a more realistic portrayal than the way it is now, where it's just like, I hate Spider-Man, and it's always going to be like that. I feel like J. Jonah refuses to evolve.
Yeah, now he feels like a caricature of like a Fox News pundit almost. And Bendis did a very good job of humanizing him and making him a fully fleshed out 3-dimensional character. It was like, he had legitimate reasons why he didn't like him initially. He's one of the few characters in that universe that has a secret identity that hides behind a mask. We don't know who he is. He is unanswerable to anyone theoretically. But then like as he actually saw who he was as a hero, he backed off and recognized it. And spoiler alert again for Ultimate Spider-Man, he offers to pay for Peter Parker's college and says, you can work here. I understand why you are the way you are, and I support this, and I respect you as a character and as a hero. And it was again, Ultimate Spider-Man with few exceptions was just phenomenal throughout.
Well, because I feel like you're caught in a universe where it allows you to make those evolutions in a character, where I feel like the standard Marvel universe, I feel like we got to keep everything kind of the status quo, and only it's the illusion of change.
Yeah, and it was the roadmap of what a 21st century Spider-Man looks like. And I would rather use that as the roadmap than trying to adapt classic Spider-Man stuff and rethinking like, how do we make it modern? Like, just follow Ultimate Spider-Man. I'd rather see that. And you have 15 years of comics behind it to pull from.
Yeah. And now, does this make you feel like, all right, Fox, get it together, realize that you've got some issues with the Fantastic Four franchise, partner up with Marvel, see if you can do something to really salvage this?
Yeah, I mean, I know you have problems, Chris, with their handling of the X franchise and everything, but I will happily sacrifice them always having the X-Men franchise for them to give back Fantastic Four and finally see that done right.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen though.
Do
Like
you feel like-
I
do you feel
want
like-
it to, but
Yeah.
it won't.
Do you feel like Fox, we could see the success that they're having, just even just commercially, but also just how well received it is by fans of the character? They feel like, man, maybe you should do something with Marvel to have them kind of at least be more of a creative influence on what you do with the Fantastic Four.
I don't think so. I mean, in some ways, we're even seeing Sony backpedal a bit with Marvel. I mean, the fact that they're insisting on making their own Spider-Verse without Spider-Man is stupid to start with. But I'll be curious to see if they still go through those plans after the success of this, or if that was their way of like hedging their bets. I don't see Fox doing it though. Sadly, I would love that to happen, 'cause I actually really like the Fantastic Four, and we still haven't gotten a good Fantastic Four movie.
Yeah.
But
I don't know, because I feel like all it takes is for Venom not to do well, or Black. Because I can't imagine. Do we think we live in a world where the Black Cat Silver Sable movie is going to do really well at the box office?
Silver
Silver Sable.
Sable.
I thought Silver Surfer.
No.
Which I think would be better.
Silver Saber is a
Oh, wait, you're saying
Eastern
saber?
Europe.
Sable.
Sable. Yeah.
okay, which-
I just said saber on accident.
Oh, okay. I was like, so sable like a coat, like a mink. What's this?
What's
Oh yeah,
Like
I don't know what a
she's
sable
like
is.
Eastern European, kind of Russian, so that makes sense.
Yeah, it's like a
and
mink
she's
coat.
she's like all
Like her sable, like it's like old Hollywood.
yeah, she's
like
got
if
like
a man
silver
loved you,
hair
he'd
and
buy
wears like
you
a
sable.
silver
All right.
outfit.
Yeah. She's kind of Black Widow-esque, sort of.
But silver.
And she's just, she's, kick-ass kind of mercenary.
Russian. She's cool looking.
Yeah, but I just I don't want to
She
see
looks
a
kind of
movie
like Black
of them.
Cat.
But
Yeah.
is that going to send a message to Sony? It's like, we shouldn't try to worry about trying to expand this universe. Let's just focus on the good thing that we've got with Marvel.
You have the problem with Marvel's success and DC's success muddying the water with what Fox and Sony will do. Because they see all the stuff that Marvel's doing and it's working out. It's the Marvel characters, but then you have stuff like DC's going to be pushing like this whole Gotham franchise that they have. They have the Batman movies, Gotham City Sirens, the Batgirl movie, a Nightwing movie. They are just building it all entirely. Just this corner of the universe is going to be like the foundation of this world, it seems, or at least a huge corner of it. And so you have these dueling ideas sort of competing, and it'll be interesting to see what side Sony ends up on, because as much as Marvel is offering an example, DC and Fox are offering counter examples to confuse Sony.
Yeah, but I feel like Spider-Man benefited so much. Like even if it was when you had more of a Marvel, you had Iron Man involved in this, but just the fact that you could plant all those little seeds or use those elements from the Marvel Cinematic Universe benefited so greatly that I think the Fantastic Four had that same opportunity. I think it would make for a better film.
Yeah, now they can move
would,
to Stark
yeah.
Towers. Or now, yeah, because the Reed building. Wait, where the Fantastic Four are on top of
Baxter
which
Building.
Baxter Building? Yeah, now there's a giant open skyscraper for them now.
true, yeah.
That's true. You bought that and you built 4 Freedoms Plaza right there. Oh man, that'd be so cool.
Yeah, they're already setting it up. They're just waiting for
That's
that money
right.
to
Yeah,
come
that's
in.
right. Yes. Yeah. Get that A away. Just put a 4 in its place.
And Marvel has been systematically, retroactively making Iron Man 2 a better movie with the release of other movies. They made Gary Shandling more cool in Captain America Civil War. Now they made it even more cool with, Peter Parker was in it too. He was that kid. Marvel has been and now technically we could assume that because Martin Starr, this is actually his second Marvel appearance. We could assume that was actually his character in Incredible Hulk, and this is the trajectory of where that character ended up with. Now he's in Spider-Man. So Marvel's been not only taking care to make movies good as is, but going back and correcting movies that sucked at the time.
When are we going to get the college students from Thor Dark World are all going to be Inhumans?
Yeah,
They
we're
need
gonna
a
have
lot of help to make that movie.
We're gonna have the Darcy movie. And it's just gonna answer all those questions. It's just gonna be Kat Denning, and
It's kind of interesting though, right? Because they do. It's like being given a time machine and being able to go back and fix it.
Yeah.
If you want to. You just can't lay it on too thick.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a way of, if you mess up, it's a way of going back and being like, no, it's totally intentional because of this, and you're like, no, it wasn't. But that was a really good cover.
Mm-hmm.
And it's fun for the fans because now we get to theorize and have a whole timeline to explore and have fun with.
well, it's also just what's fun about it is actually adapting comic books, because this is comic books. There's so many times where writers just that was a shitty idea and execution, but a great kernel of something in there. So let's just after the fact go back and redo it and just make it better. And now that we have all this information, we can go back and properly address it the way it was meant to be when we thought we had it at the time. And so it's just cool because it's this is how comics are. Stuff changes like this all the time between years and years and all these different people coming on. And Marvel's just more fully than DC ever will, at least at this point, is fully adapting the experience of what it is to read a comic book as a movie.
Along those lines, what's our next movie?
We're on break for a while.
Is it Thor Ragnarok?
Unless
Technically.
we wanted to go see Atomic Blonde. and
Unless
just
we want to
pretend
see
like it was a
Atomic
comic
Blonde,
book.
which
Or
is based on a
Valerian.
comic book,
Yeah.
Valerian, which is based on a comic book, and The Secret Kingsman.
I didn't know that.
Oh,
I'm so
yeah.
excited for
Yeah. We
Kingsman.
must do Kingsman.
I want
That
to
would
do
be cool.
Kingsman so bad, but I
Yeah.
didn't know that Valerian was based on a comic book. I saw
It's
a
a
trailer.
European
I
comic
don't
book.
understand it. I don't get.
It's a sci-fi.
Well, yeah, I love sci-fi, but I couldn't tell from the trailer. I was just like, is this just does nothing
The thing you need to
happen?
understand about European science fiction is it's fucking bonkers.
It's
It's
crazy.
insane.
I don't
They
mind
just
that.
go off onto weird stuff.
Have you ever read The World of Adina?
No.
So I was last Christmas, the Valerian trailer just dropped, and I couldn't remember what the series was called. I just knew it was French, and so I ordered the wrong book. But World of Adina is this super crazy, way too relevant for being in the 60s book about how we're too connected to technology and how we are losing our sense of what human is. And it was so fascinating.
That's so
And,
funny. 'Cause
I would love for that to turn into something.
in the
Yeah.
60s, it's like, put down that walkie-talkie. get rid of that radio. They're too reliant on it.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah,
funny.
but we sort of have a grab bag of non-traditional superhero comic book adaptations through the rest of summer and into fall up until Thor Ragnarok in November.
Oh, we'd be off for that long?
Mm-hmm.
Till
Yeah.
Thor?
This is
when is
This is
Deadpool?
the movie season.
Next year.
Yeah, Deadpool's next year. Yeah, we basically have 2 more left this year in terms of traditional comic book stuff. We have Thor Ragnarok, and then literally 3-4 weeks later, if that, we have Justice League.
Guys,
So Justice League is the finale.
I'm gonna miss you too
Oh
much.
boy.
I definitely vote for doing Kingsman.
I
though.
want.
Yeah.
I will
Yeah.
definitely.
Well,
see
Kingsman's Kingsman's a straight up adaptation of a comic book, and it's Mark Millar. He is like a comic book writer,
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah.
So for sure that one.
So for
when
sure,
is that out? I'm jazzed.
September 29th. I was looking through the release dates here to figure
Too
out.
far away.
So yeah, but we have Atomic Blonde. I'd be down to talk about that because that movie looks.
It looks so good. Are we?
Oh my
But
God.
was it based on a comic book? Do you have any reason to see
No.
it?
it
Other
was
than
based
it just
on a
looks
comic
really
book.
awesome and
No,
we want to
it's
talk about
based
it?
on a comic book.
Is it?
Yeah. Is it? I thought somebody guys mentioned it. It is
No,
based on a
I
comic
mentioned
book.
it
It's not
because I
called
just-
Atomic Blonde, but it's based on a comic book.
Oh,
But
wow.
it was
It qualifies.
It was one of those make the comic book to prove the property works to get it made into a movie. At least that's from my understanding of what I've read about stuff. That was the story as I understood it. Is that they made it as like a proof of concept kind of comic book idea.
I will definitely be seeing that. So if you guys would like to get together and discuss it, that would be
Are we
fun.
down? Yeah, that's next month. So
That's
Yeah,
cool.
that's Comic-Con week, right?
is it that soon?
I think
No,
so.
that's Comic-Con is like 2 weeks from now.
Yeah,
isn't
I
it?
know.
It's
Yeah,
the week
but is
after.
that- is
no,
that-
it's the Atomic Blonde's the 28th.
Oh, okay.
So no, and then Valerian is the 21st. That's Valerian and Dunkirk come out the week of Comic Con. Who's going to Comic Con, by the way?
I'll be there.
I wish, unless I could.
We'll be
score
there.
Oh, I'll
some
fucking be
sweet
there.
ticks.
Oh yeah.
So we got, is it half of us or 4? So 4 out of 6
Is
are going.
wait, is comic book? Wait,
Comic Con's in like 2 weeks. Yeah, the 20 something.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, I keep thinking
So we're gonna do a
I
fan
might wind up getting tickets, but something would have to fall through for me to get these tickets. So just guys, wish that someone dies. Just hope that somebody dies.
Okay, let's put it out in the
Put it
universe.
out
We can do
there.
more than
Joe-
wish. Just
Joe
offline,
Pesci.
tell us. and we'll-
Oh yeah, I'm looking to get Joe those sweet Pesci tickets. Yeah.
Oh, one last thing I want to say is what I loved is the updated score for the Amazing Spider-Man cartoon, kind of leaving the Marvel.
So awesome.
We didn't even talk about that. That was
Yes.
fucking
That was
phenomenal.
cool.
Giacchino.
That's when I heard that I was like, that's what I would have liked more for Wonder Woman. Something that was more
Yeah.
tailored. I just
Oh,
want
like
something
the-
that was more
Well, even
tailored.
like-
I don't want to bring it back to this.
But
I'm
like
just
it would have
saying,
been like what's cool is, and that we reminded about Spider-Man that Wonder Woman didn't take into effect, but like Lego Batman did, is the multimedia history, not just the comic books, but like Spider-Man's music, but like that is
Yeah.
so iconic to the character, but outside of the comic book purview of it. But yeah, like the Wonder Woman things, like Wonder Woman, like we like fans know that tune, and so it would have been cool to do what Marvel did with the Amazing Spider-Man and incorporate that, like because Wonder Woman is. More so than a lot of these characters, Wonder Woman is probably more popular as like this outside figure than she is of her comic book storylines and of the comic book content. Like people, it's more like Linda Carter than anything else, really. Wonder Woman's a very special case, and so it would have been cool to see them adapt that like Marvel did with Spider-Man.
And Cameron, I'm not being negative about Wonder Woman because you know that I adored it.
I
Listen
know
to the
I
podcast.
mentioned
I'm-
before the
I'm
podcast
nothing.
since I missed the Wonder Woman talk that when I listened to the podcast I made the joke that the show is much more negative when I'm not here. But no, I do understand that was a very that was a good.
I'm just
I did.
Did you feel we were more positive today?
You wanted to make sure you weren't making
I do.
fun of him.
Yeah.
Good.
He doesn't listen to them ever.
I don't listen to our podcast because I hate my voice.
What? You have the voice of an angel.
You
Oh, thank
do.
you so much.
Yeah.
I appreciate that, guys.
I would again marry that
I think
voice.
you sound like Jeff Pesci.
I'm the Joe Pesci of the group. Is that what you're saying?
No. Oh, guys.
We did it again, guys.
Yeah.
I know people didn't think it was possible, but we made it
We
happen.
did, and not just that, we set up at least 2 more of these
Yeah.
than we had before the end of the year. So that's exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I know the fans have demanded it.
The people are clamoring.
That's right. You
Yeah.
asked for it, we deliver.
Yeah.
So minimum of 2 more crossover episodes, maximum of 5 for the rest of the year if we
we're
want to
not-
go full blown.
We're not going
hey.
to do The Last Jedi either?
Oh,
And shit, we'll all go to it together. We can, but I
Yeah.
don't know if we need to podcast about it.
I mean, the world needs to know our opinions.
Yes.
That's true.
If you guys don't want to hear our opinions, then tweet at us. Please.
Nice. Oh, what a segue.
Find us on Instagram, tweet at us, use all the hashtags. Let us know. If you want us to stop doing this, there's only one way to get us to stop, and that is to follow us, listen, rate, and review these podcasts.
And where can they follow you, Amanda?
Where can me personally?
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for asking. I'm at Comic Book Novice on Instagram and Twitter.
Oh, how nice.
Yeah, and you can hashtag the Novice and Frank if you want us to stop talking. Or do more of these. That'd be great to hear too. If you have any suggestions, Frank, they can find you too. At Happy Go Jackie. They can do it.
I already got some tweets. They don't want me to talk anymore.
Oh, you guys, how
This
did
live
that's
podcast?
amazing because I had no idea we're streaming live. I would have talked so much less about vaginas. So yeah, they can find guys. Can they find you to make you stop talking?
They can. They can find our podcast at Timm Talk Pod on the Twitter and Instagram and Gmails. They can find me personally at Cameron.Dexter on Instagram.
I had to lean to the mic there. And you can find me at Lordifer on Instagram and on Facebook.
Yeah. What about
and
you
on
guys?
Twitter.
And if they want, guys, listen. If they're like, we hate the Flash, we don't want any more Flash-related things out there in the universe. Where should they go to tell you that?
You should go fuck yourselves. Is what you should do. You can find me personally at TrevorCopter is my handle. And Chris, since you aren't on Twitter, why don't you tell them where you can find our podcast on social media? It's PO2W_Flash. Don't be a dick about it. Actually sell it. Like, get people excited to check out our Twitter and Instagram. Or you can email.
Nice car dealership.
What can I get you with getting these Rocktober sales? And then you can email us podcast to the number worlds@gmail.com.
Yeah.
Also, really quickly, would like to make sure that you are aware, our listeners, of the Nerdist School Network that we're all a part of. You hear advertisements for all the other podcasts. Every episode that you listen to any one of our podcasts, you'll hear ads for those podcasts. Listen out for them. We got a lot of cool stuff happening at the Nerdist School Theater, a lot of cool podcasts happening on the network and recording in the booth that we're at. And it's just a great time. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, Nerdist School Network. It's a lot of great stuff, and I think that hopefully we have stuff coming up for Con. I know
Carnival, they're doing some stuff.
Yeah, hopefully we'll be able to do some stuff with the podcast over there. But also, what did I want to say? Oh, yeah, the Nerdist School Theater that we are tangentially a part of as being part of the Nerdist School Network is having the Nerdist School Assembly September 16th here at Meltdown Comics. It's going to be multiple stages, a lot of good stuff, improv, sketch, video, all sorts of stuff, and possibly some podcasting happening that same day.
Ooh.
Figuring some stuff out, guys, but you might have a chance to podcast September 16th as part of a live event.
Wait, are you talking to us or are you talking to the general
I'm talking
audience?
to the general audience, but also you guys right now.
boy.
I've been pitching some stuff. I'm waiting to hear responses. So clear the calendar. September 16th. There, hopefully, I'm pushing for it. We'll get a podcast presence for that.
Perfect.
It'll be our second fan meetup.
Yeah,
Expect one
we'll
of you
have
to come
a
out.
fan meetup.
Mom, if you want to come out.
My parents won't because we talked about vaginas and fucking. But if you guys want to, please do. If you guys know anybody that's died and left you their Comic-Con tickets, again, it's just let me know.
Happy
And
Go
then if I
Jackie.
die, you can have mine.
Thank you.
Yes. You can't kill me, but if it happens,
Okay,
yeah.
but I'll cry a little while I'm there.
Yeah. Natural
All right.
causes.
Anybody else
Uh,
see steamed clams?
Cameron and Chris, how do we wrap up? Yeah, how do we wrap up the podcast, guys?
Oh,
Yes,
do we
you-
have time to do our bat plugs?
No. I don't think we do have time for that. No. Usually we end it while we talk about like what we've been reading. We call it rather childishly bat plugs. But yeah, I don't think we have time for that
Give
right
us
now.
one thing.
Podcast.
Give us you guys give us your bat plugs, and we'll just defer.
We just did a podcast yesterday.
And I lost the audio, so you have to re-record it too.
This is boding really strong clothes.
Baby Driver. There you go.
Oh,
Great.
yeah.
That's what we talked about yesterday. It's fucking amazing. Go see that.
Yeah, it's great.
And then there was a video that I watched over the weekend by this YouTuber named Video Game Donkey that did an amazing analysis on the problem with reviewers and critique websites and how kind of there is a big problem going on in that culture right now, and it's very interesting. We'll put it somewhere online eventually. But go watch that.
I don't know.
video.
I don't know what that
It's
have to do with us. After we spent an hour and a half
Just critiquing.
reviewing a movie.
No, it's about
No, I know.
like big websites giving
like
shitty-
AV Club and like stuff like that.
Well,
Like,
it was
my
mainly
God.
focused on gaming culture and how like GameSpot will just destroy it in the written review and then still give it like a 9.2.
Oh my god.
oh,
we're,
interesting.
We're
Yeah,
part of the problem.
yeah, you don't really see that in other culture, in other like pop culture stuff. Like,
Right.
It's mostly just like, like they'll give you the letter grade that the write up says it is.
Yeah. He talks a lot about how like big websites are afraid of giving bad reviews because they're given early access to games, and they feel like if they trash it, then they're going to kind of lose that connection. And it's kind of this weird balance that's going on right now, especially with Gamergate a couple of years ago. Everything's kind of fucked right now.
I had that when I had like access to like when I was like writing reviews for like comic books, and it's just like, this is a personal relationship that I have. I don't want to shit on it. It's weird. That's interesting.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's what we've been watching, reading, listening to. And we'll see you guys next time.
Yeah! Movie TBD.
I'm
Better be good.
Solange.
Oh.
All right, let's do it again. Start over. I'm Solange.
And I'm Jessica.
And this is our podcast, Jessica and Solange Take Down the Patriarchy.
We break down movies from a feminist point of view to see how they uphold or take down the patriarchy.
Listen to us on Nerdist School Network or subscribe to us on iTunes, or you can find us on SoundCloud. We come out the last Thursday of the month when we can.
Be a part of the resistance just by listening and supporting us. It's that easy. Oh, and go vote at all elections.
The Nerdist School Network. For class and show information, visit nerdistschool.com.